What is Caucasity? Breaking down the psychology of the white organization. There's been extensive research that has gone into this talk, and you will hear some ideas that'll be very well articulated. There'll be things that you felt before, but you couldn't put a name on it, couldn't put a finger on it. I trust that you'll gain a great deal from this one. And if people support it, we'll get through the entire thing. I have quite a few pages of notes, and there's no doubt that for those who have the Black Code, and all of the Black peoples of the earth should have it, I'll make sure that I upload these written notes so that you can use them for all time. As we go through, please do share your questions, comments, tithes, tuition using the information in the description of the video, as well as the banner at the bottom. These kind of conversations are more academic. You all might know I've written many papers on these kinds of topics, and every now and then I get the privilege of sharing this with you. I do want you to know that if you've ever taken a course in sociology, African American studies, critical race theory, or any of these types of areas of study, this talk will involve some of those ideas, but it will be better than any talk you would have gotten at university. I know, because I had to sit through those unfortunate courses. Caucasity, behavioral analysis of the white organization. Some of these terms you may be unfamiliar with because they are academic terms in a specific area of study. And in other cases, they are terms that I coined, terms that you'll find in the Black Code. The term Caucasity, a portmanteau of Caucasian and audacity, serves as a sociolinguistic shorthand. While frequently deployed in popular culture to describe the domineering or audacious behavior of some whites, the reality it describes is verified by sociological, psychological, and historical scholarship. It is worth noting that this term was first coined by Marquette Devon Burton in a 2010 spoken word open mic in Los Angeles, California. At its core, Caucasity operationalizes what academic literature identifies as white supremacy culture and intergroup dominance orientation. You'll notice if you have the Black Code, I don't use the term white supremacy always. It means a specific thing. I want to speak to you about the white organization's inclination to monitor, control, dominate, and question the legitimacy and belonging of the original people. You'll notice I often use the term the white organization. Why? Because they are organized and they tend to stay on code, on their code. They agree with each other. They don't condemn each other. They don't call out each other's wrongdoings. They pretend all is well. Hence a situation like Israel. To understand the mechanics of this phenomenon, one must move past the colloquial surface. The audacity implied by the term is not merely individual imprudence. It is the behavioral manifestation of habitus. This is a key term to remember. A concept formulated by sociologist Pierre Bourdieu. Habitus refers to the deeply ingrained habits, skills, and dispositions that individuals possess due to their life experiences and socialization. And you'll see me editing this as I go. Obviously, there have been some ideas that I've updated over the years. A lot of times when you hear me give talks like this on Haiti, on François Duvalier, on the Hitlerjugend, on the Bund Deutsche Mädel, it's because I've written papers on this like a decade ago. And sometimes you have to update these things. Within a racialized hierarchy, the white habitus fosters an internalized sense of spatial, social, and moral entitlement. When this entitlement is disrupted or asserted in mundane settings, such as a white individual policing the legitimate presence of Black individuals in public spaces, it manifests as the behavior colloquially dubbed Caucasity. Universally, this behavior relies on an unexamined assumption that whites are the natural arbiters of social order. That should hit heavy. The assumption that whites are the natural arbiters of social order. The whites are in charge. They decide what's right and what's wrong. They decide who's right and who's wrong. And there are many ways to display caucasity. And caucasity is not only displayed by whites, maybe displayed by those who are white adjacent or those who identify as white. The inclination to monitor. Now, this is something that you all should notice and you should think, oh, gee, that's weird. Why are they always in our business? Do you guys know that I get death threats every day from the white organization? I also get all of these messages and see them in my public comments sometimes, responding to things that are directly addressed to black people. Yes, I'm addressing something directly to blacks, but for some reason there's a white in my comments engaging. And I think, gee, I don't go into the comments of white supremacists when they're talking about replacement theory and say, hey, I disagree. I never do that. In fact, I don't follow any white supremacists because I don't like their ideology. I have nothing to do with them. I don't want to be bothered and I don't want to bother. But that is the inclination of the natural people, the original people. However, the white organization, they monitor you. As we say in popular culture, among the blacks, we're never truly alone because there's always a white person in our business. The systemic impulse to monitor the original people is thoroughly documented in sociological scholarship. Sociologist Elijah Anderson introduces the concept of the cosmopolitan canopy versus the white space. In his research, Anderson demonstrates that historically white spaces, white neighborhoods, white workplaces, white upscale commercial establishments, maintain a tacit expectation of racial homogeneity. Yes? Meaning they don't say it, but they expect that everyone there is white. Many of you have probably never been to a place like that. Sometimes it's a very expensive country club. Sometimes it's a very exclusive restaurant. These places exist where they don't expect non-whites to be there. When you show up, it's almost like, how'd you find out about this place? And then you are under increased monitoring and scrutiny. Yes, these places exist. And the funny thing is that depending on where you're from as a black person, you may have never been to these places. Depending on your socioeconomic status, you may have never had access to these places. Depending on how minoritized you are based on your geography, you may have no interest or inclination to go to these places. I tell you, my plantations in Georgia, every time I go somewhere and I see a bunch of black people, I'm always like, man, that's a lot of black people. Well, why is that? Because I grew up in California. Blacks are 6% of the population. 6%. That's a real minority when you consider that means that 94% are not black. So most places you go, it's just you, right? Especially if you have a high income. So, for example, when blacks say things like, oh, that guy's dating a white girl. Well, if he's from Georgia, that would be weird. If he's from Texas, that would be weird. There's blacks everywhere. It's a high black population in Detroit and Mississippi. But if you're from Washington or California, then it makes sense because you're minoritized. Just mathematically, it's more likely. But so often, blacks are without education, yes, and without true understanding of the war we're in or how to win. That is why I created the Black Code. Anyways, as I was saying, scholar Anderson demonstrates that historically white spaces maintain a tacit expectation of racial homogeneity, meaning sameness, everyone white. And I might add, in the absence of such, racial hierarchy. So if it isn't homogenous, at least we maintain the racial hierarchy so that when the blacks show up, they know they go at the bottom. Last time I experienced this was Cape Town, South Africa. I wanted to go into a restaurant have something to eat, and the whites told me we're not serving. Looked around, they were serving, everyone was eating, except that everyone eating was white and everyone serving was black. So my presence upset the homogeneity of those eating at leisure, and it also upset the racial hierarchy. Because if I was eating, that would put me on parallel, on par, appear to the whites. Come on. Come on. Exactly. Don't be that guy. Yeah, you remember. Lil Cash Kid remembers I was on live when it happened and they were behaving that way. And then the owner of the restaurant, once we got at those Google reviews, tried to lie and say it wasn't racism. Imagine a South African that's not racist. That goes for the black ones and the white ones. Yes, it turns out that among you blacks are traitors. And in due time, those who do not have and follow the black code will be deemed traitors and will be dealt with first. Yes, indeedy. It must happen because the war is serious. Shout out to Mr. Atkins writes, Peace of the Saints Tuition. I recently joined the Sassanon School. My apologies if you've already explained this, but is that the correct platform? School is where all of the courses are. If you are looking for a membership to the organization, that would be peacetothesaints.com. You just click the join button. 7089 writes, Peace of the Saints. Thank you very much for this intellectual upliftment. You're very welcome. And I thank you for the support. I thank you for being a part of this effort to educate. May I also acknowledge all the people who are members, by the way. Shout out to all the folks who are members. May I also acknowledge Amir came in supporting the work using the Stripe link. Actually just became a member. My apologies. And may I also acknowledge Maktar just supported using the Stripe link. Shout out to Trayvon as well. Came in supporting 2 times via Venmo. He writes, Peace of the Saints. I also wanted to add, okay, I read that out of order. That's his second one. The first one, he writes, thank you for your work. I sent you an email. Aha, okay, very good. Let me set this aside so we can take a look at that. And congratulations to Trayvon as well. He recently completed nursing school. And we just absolutely love to see our people excel. And when I say our people, I'm talking about all of the good peoples of the earth, be them white, black, Arab, Asian, even South African. He secondly writes, I wanted to also add that I passed my board exam and I start working this month. Congratulations. Happy to hear it. We always talk health, wealth, relationships. May I also acknowledge Melvin came in supporting the work, writes, Tuition, Peace of the Saints, love and respect. Appreciate you. Also shout out via PayPal. Mr. Thompson writes, support for Caucasity stream. Shout out to Mr. Williams. He writes, if you've discovered this live, consider yourself fortunate. The knowledge you'll gain can change the way you see the world for the better. Peace of the Saints. Oh, absolutely. And you will be less frustrated because you will understand what you are dealing with. Shout out to Reginald supporting the work via Venmo. You see, without this knowledge that I'm providing you here in brief and then in the black code at length, you will experience the world and suffer at a level, but not know why. Yes, you won't know why. Let's get after it. When a human enters these spaces, referring to white spaces, they are frequently subjected to a heightened level of surveillance, a phenomenon Michael Foucault described in broader institutional terms as the panoptic gaze. Oh, they want to see everything. A landmark study by sociological researchers has continually demonstrated that white individuals are significantly more likely to perceive black and brown individuals as out of place or inherently suspicious in integrated environments. So if you ever get the feeling that you're being watched, that's because you are being watched. If you ever get the feeling that you don't belong, that's because there are people looking at you and they feel like you don't belong. Maybe you're perceiving that energy or the action or the microaggressions, but it is real. a landmark study by sociological researchers. It is real. We call it Karen, the Karen phenomenon. Now, that's a female name, but you may notice male Karens. It describes something that operates in everyone who is a part of the white organization, male and female. What social media categorizes as Karen behavior is, in sociological terms, the weaponization of the state apparatuses to enforce racial boundaries. What do you mean, Marquette? It's Karen picks up her phone. Yeah, I'm scared and there's a black guy and he keeps walking toward me. I feel threatened. But she's lying and making up things. And ironically, while she claims to be scared of you, black man, you should be scared of her because she has the whole government behind her. And the police who are going to arrive are not known for shooting white women. They're known for shooting black men. You should be scared. The white organization has for centuries committed mass murder, yet she's saying she's scared of you. Tactics. The Central Park bird watching incident, which was immortalized in 2020, serves as a pristine empirical case study. The immediate recourse to fabricating a threat to law enforcement highlights an implicit understanding that the state functions, when I say the state, meaning the government, functions to protect whites and enforce the control of blacks, especially the black male. You're the scary one. The white organization has an impulse to control. They surveil, they monitor, and they control, not only physically, but also through psychological means. Let us consider social dominance theory. To dissect the psychological mechanisms driving the inclination toward domination, we turn to social dominance theory. Developed by psychologists Jim Sidanius and Felicia Prato, social dominance theory posits that human societies naturally organized into group-based hierarchies. Now, this part is important, group-based. Now, imagine societies organized into groups. Now, imagine you're not in a group. Or imagine that you are in a group that's not really a group because it's disorganized. Imagine you're an individual going up against a group. Come on now. You're only a group if you have something in common, and trust me, it must be deeper than skin coloration. This is partly why many of you blacks that are off code are at a great disadvantage. And those who are against code, Candace Owens, Officer Talmadge Tatum, the Hodge twins, they're at a great disadvantage. Societies naturally organize into group-based hierarchies. If you're an individual, you're at the bottom of the hierarchy, where dominant groups secure a disproportionate share of positive social value, wealth, prestige, authority. Now let's consider the mechanics of social dominance orientation. Social dominance orientation is a psychological measure of an individual's preference for hierarchy and their desire for their in-group, the group they belong to dominate outgroups, meaning to dominate other groups. Or if you like, it's the inclination of the white organization to dominate non-white individuals. You see how I said individuals? Because when you are an individual, you are easy to dominate. The moment you become organized, you are a threat. Why does President Trump speak so ill of the Somalis? Because when they sent ICE into Minnesota, those Somalis were organized. And it seemed like they were resisting and fighting back. And organized makes them a real group. Being a real group makes them a threat, a power to contend with. Shout out to my Somalis. Even though the women have very large foreheads and not a lot of I'm not going to say that. Not going to say that. Anyways, shout out to Luis, supporting the work via Venmo, writes, peace to the saints, tuition. May I also acknowledge via Venmo. Alkbomo writes, first time supporting the work. I appreciate you. Shout out to the real ones. And shout out to all of the folks who make their name known. Shout out to those who pay what they owe. May I also acknowledge Mr. Harris, comes in via PayPal. He writes, peace to the saints, tuition. Thank you for all that you do for the good peoples of the earth. I appreciate you. Shout out to the real ones. May I also acknowledge, oh, it looks like he came in. Shout out to Alan. He writes, sending you energy to keep up all the hard work. You're a true inspiration and an extraordinary example. Peace of saints. I appreciate that. And this is Hustlemania 14. So I will need it. We're going hard all the way up to the drip trip. Shout out to Bacardo. Came in supporting the work. Writes, peace to the saints. And I'm so pleased to see everyone supporting this kind of stream because it is more of a high IQ stream. So it really means a lot. Shout out to Omari. He writes, I've wondered if I was looked at like this when I went to Catholic school. Oh, you better believe it. You were in the belly of the beast. If I was too young to notice it, too innocent as well. Yes. Being a preteen at the time, I definitely get this feeling when I enter a gas station as an adult. It is you're a little bit more keen, huh? I also acknowledge Jalen writes, support. Appreciate you. Let's get back after it. Now, as I said, social dominance orientation is a psychological measure of an individual's preference for hierarchy and their desire for their in-group to dominate out-groups, which is to say for the white organization to dominate individuals of color. Quantitative studies consistently indicate that whites possess high levels of social dominance orientation and exhibit specific behavioral patterns. This keeps happening. Number one, support for punitive policies. Pay attention. Higher affinity for aggressive policing. You ever see that? Stricter sentencing. This is documented. I read a book on this when I was 16. Met the gentleman who wrote it. And his book, which is chock full of facts, you can find at amazon.com/shop/The Saint and the Sinner. I have a number of books there that I recommend. Basics that you should have read. And I don't generally promote reading, I promote action. And surveillance mechanisms that disproportionately target communities of color. Absolutely. Not until I was in Baltimore would I see the eye in the sky, the police cameras, that they would roll into the projects, roll into Section 8 housing, and just leave it there. Even put it in the parking lots of places that black people frequent. Never once in a white neighborhood have I seen such a thing. System justification, a psychological predisposition to defend and justify. Now, this is really important. They defend the system. Why? Because the system mostly works for them. If you're white, it makes perfect sense you defend the police. The police don't the police don't put their knee on your neck. The only time the police do that is when you're going against their organization overtly. Especially if you're doing it to defend people of color, then you are grass. Yes? But you'll often see black folks on social media commenting on a video where a white person's popping off at the mouth to the police and the police are just taking it. Or a white person gets into a physical altercation with the police, two-pieces them and runs off and does not get gunned down. And black people are saying, whoa, how'd that happen? Well, it happened because that person was not black. That's why. It makes perfect sense that white folks support the system. The system has kept them on top. The system supports them. The system is their friend. They call 911 and have a level of predictability. They don't expect when the police show up, the police are going to look at them as the suspect. They don't expect when they go to the hospital to birth their child that there'll be a higher infant mortality rate because they're not white. They are white. All should go well. You remember that nurse that got a slap on the wrist? She had broken the bones of black newborns intentionally. over the years? Do you not know that the data indicates that black newborns are more likely to die while at the hospital, which is supposed to be a place of healing? I tell you, not on accident. This is data backed, by the way. A psychological disposition, we're talking about system justification. In the white organization, it is a psychological predisposition to defend and justify the existing societal status quo, which is to say, we, the whites, are on top. Things are good as they are. Why rock the boat? Let's keep it going. And if it appears that it's going to change, then we start calling the change the great replacement theory. We're being replaced. We can't have that. We must stay on top, even if we're not qualified, which lets you know that the meritocracy argument is a lie. As I said, the white organization has a psychological predisposition to defend and justify the existing societal status quo, framing any attempt at racial equity as an existential threat or reverse racism. Now, for a white person to claim racism is extraordinary. To claim to be the victim of it, it's like, you guys are the inventors of it. You're the owners of it. No one uses it against you. That never happens. Yet they will claim it because their organization stays on code and they're wildly dishonest, and they will gaslight you. And some blacks, projecting their own nature, like, oh, well, they feel strongly about it. Like, maybe there's something to it. No, there's nothing to it except gaslighting and dishonesty. A 2012 study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology demonstrated that when white dominant group members perceived a threat to their demographic, which is to say to the whites, or their political majority, their SDO, remember that, social dominance orientation, their social dominance orientation scores increased. So what it's saying is when they perceive that you blacks or you Asians or Arabs or anything that's not white, when you try to rise up, it is documented scientifically that their social dominance scores increase, meaning they try to beat you down. Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, correlating with a heightened desire to implement controlling mechanisms over human populations. Controlling mechanisms over human populations? Do you mean ICE trying to export the people of color? Do you mean kicking out the Haitians? Do you mean stopping the refugee programs that are legitimately allowing people out of Sudan, which has been a war-torn place for a long time? Controlling mechanisms over human populations. Export the blacks. Stop the Africans from coming in. Make a fake program to let in white South Africans claiming that they're being abused when it's not true. And you can see white South Africans saying that exact thing on YouTube videos, endless numbers of YouTube videos. But they had to lie to create a pathway to fast track white South Africans into the United States. Come on now. And this is my favorite right here. This is my favorite, especially in this day and age. The myth of meritocracy. Oh, this is one of their greatest lies. Shout out to Mr. Saunders coming in, supporting the work, using the Stripe link. Shout out to Charles, a.k.a. Thul, writes tuition. I appreciate you. May I also acknowledge via PayPal. Shout out to Mr. Gardner. He writes, Peace of the Saints, tuition. No one else talks about these topics. And if they do, they just won't do a good job, right? Shout out to Jalen. He writes, I'm in a relationship with a white woman. Is there anything I should make sure to teach her about the black experience and how the world perceives and treats me/us? You know, I think it's one of those things where if they get it, they get it. And if they want to get it, they will get it. I can tell you, I've had a number of white employees, associates, assistants, some of whom you all are more familiar with. Some of you guys have met some of my white assistants. And there was one time I had one, I don't know if young lady, but lovely woman named Sarah who worked for me. Very spicy character. And in short, there was a time that we had went to a particular resort in Las Vegas called the Venetian. And I have VIP status, in fact, the highest VIP status with their organization. And that gives you VIP valet. And I pulled into valet. I was in the I8 convertible, pulled into valet, and the valet folks went past my car to a white family that was behind me to take them as valet. Now, mind you, I'm literally the highest level of VIP, and this is a random white family. My car's $180,000. Their car's $30,000. I'm literally in front of them in line. So even if I wasn't a VIP, it would make sense to serve me first. Even if I was behind them, because I'm their highest VIP, there's like actually levels to VIP in Vegas. They still should have served me first according to the actual rules. Anyways, so they walked past me and served the white family, which I'm like, that was weird, but I ain't really tripping. I'm a pleasant person. I don't think too deeply into negative things. And maybe it was racism, but I'm not bothered. I got time. So I sit there. They deal with the white family, probably don't even get a tip. And then they're like kind of like scratching their head and moving slowly and acting like I'm invisible. At which point I say, okay, well, I'm not going to make a fuss. It's not my style. So what I do is, and mind you, in Las Vegas, there are cameras everywhere, and there are more cameras per square foot than anywhere else in Las Vegas, right? So I just get out of the car, tell Sarah, hey, hop out. We're going to go on and check in the resort. So I just leave the car where it was, leave the keys in there and walk into the resort, handle my business. And as I'm walking into the resort, all of a sudden the valet starts chasing me down. Hey. Yes. Well, you just left your car out there. Oh, I thought I was invisible. I thought the car was invisible. How are you seeing me now? This is so strange. Like, I was invisible when you were supposed to be tending to me, but now that I'm walking out, now I'm visible? That's weird that I'm visible now. Pretend I'm invisible. Now walk off. Walk into the Venetian, go check in VIP services. And then we're coming out of VIP services, and then older white guy from valet runs over to me and he says, hey, your car's about to get towed. And I say, hey, I tell you what, if my car gets towed, this is going to be bad for you on so many levels. I absolutely promise you. And you have no idea how many ways it's going to be bad for you. Because number one, my car is very low to the ground, so it's going to be damaged when it gets towed. And number two, I promise you, you're going to get hurt in every possible way you can think of. And I hope you don't like this job. No, I'm just telling you, your car's going to get towed because you left it. I was like, I'm going to walk calmly outside. And if my car is towed, everything I said to you is going to come true immediately. Okay? All right, buddy. So anyways, we get out there. Oh, and I forgot to tell you. Did she say this before or after he walked up? I forget. But anyways, we're almost there outside, and then Sarah's going off. She's like, this is BS. Not saying it like that. She's cursing up a storm. Now, mind you, she's at work. She's like, this is BS. That's some racist shit. Like, that they walked to that white family. Now, mind you, Sarah is literally a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman. Like, this is as white as you can get, and pale. Also very curvy. Just slide note for no reason. Slim and curvy. I think they call that slim thick. But anyway, she's going off, cursing up a storm. And she's like, this is racism. They walked straight to that white family. They act like we weren't there. They did that on purpose. They hate that you're with a white girl. They hate that you have a nice car. That was not on accident. And I say that to say this. I didn't have to explain any of that to Sarah. I think she picked up on the fact that it was probably racist before I did. I was just thinking, like, who knows? It could be classist. It could be a lot of things. I don't know. I wasn't terribly interested in it. But no doubt it turned out to be racism. And I would have never tried to explain that to Sarah because, generally speaking, as a blonde, blue-eyed, attractive white female, I don't get the sense that she experiences anything that I would experience as both male, a man, and black. So I wouldn't try to explain a black man's experience to her because it's just too far. Similarly, I don't think I would ever fully understand a white woman's experience as a woman and as a white. So, you try to exercise empathy, but I'm not here to try to educate people on my identity or my experiences. But I am here to take appropriate action to ensure that my experiences are progressively better, which is why I created the Black Code. because it turns out that the group matters. If the group didn't matter, I'd be fine, right? I'd be great. I'd be in a strong position always. So anyways, long story short, when we got out there, the car had not been towed. Obviously, it was still sitting in the same place. And I asked the guy, I said, do you want to hand me my valet ticket now? He said, oh, well, you're supposed to stay in the car and hand me the keys. I was like, no, go get your boss. He was like, well, I am the boss. I was like, no, go get your boss. He says, I am running the valet. I am the boss. He's like, that's why I came to get you, because the first person came and you didn't take him seriously. So that's why I'm here, because I'm the boss. I said, aha. Well, I absolutely promise you that you're not the boss, because I actually know who the boss is personally, and he knows me. So call him and tell him Marquette Burton is downstairs and there's a problem. He's like the head of like transportation and people services or something like that. I forget. But trust me, he knows my name. Check it out right now. Just tell Marquette Burton's here and tell him I want him to come down. I want to see him. He's like, sir, that's not necessary. Don't call me sir now. Don't call me sir now. Go get the boss. He was like, oh, okay, I will. I was like, yeah, I thought you were the boss. No, go get the real boss. Boss comes down. Took about 10 minutes. Boss comes, which in Vegas is quick because the casinos are enormous. So he gets there in 10 minutes. Marquette, how are you? Oh, I'm great. Oh, it's good to see you again. Hey, Sarah, how are you? And Sarah's looking at him, doesn't say a damn word, looks at him with the cold killer look like, yeah, F everything. He's like, okay, well, what happened? I'm about to tell him, Sarah, hop straight in there. And this is not even disrespectful. I just think Sarah was like, look, you need to hear this from a white person. And so Sarah says, look, we rolled in like we always do, went to valet, didn't say anything. They walked straight past us to a SUV filled with white folks and, lollygag with them. Then when they were finished, didn't even come over. So we get out and go to check in. Then they want to run over and all of a sudden acknowledge us. The guy was rude. Then we checked in. Then we're coming out of check-in. And then that guy right there came over. He was rude again, tells us that the car is being towed. She was like, this is an unacceptable experience. And then the guy says, oh, you know what? I'm so sorry. Let me know what I can do to fix this. I tell you what, blah, 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 blah. This gentleman, I'm going to have a conversation with him. He's going to finish up his work day now. And, just let me know what I can do. I'm sorry, Marquette. Anytime you come in, if you ever have a problem, I know you have my contact info. Here's my card. Just call me personally, please. When you come here, drive through here and they should serve you straight away. They should really be parking your car up here. They shouldn't be moving it anywhere. They'll park it right in front. I'm sorry this happened. Trust me, it won't happen again. We're going to take care of it. Great. Oh, by the way, look at this. Look at this. There's one of them. There he is. Stop hating whites, dude. LOL. This is the fallen white man. Weak and effeminate. That's why he puts LOL. That's number one. Number two, this is right in line with our education today. We said the whites are always surveilling. Yes. It's actually right here. They monitor. The inclination to monitor. Yes. They have a psychosis. There's a mental issue there. Yes, they always have to monitor. So you can never, ever, ever have a space where there's just blacks or just Latinos or just people of color, because they always show up to monitor you. Make sure that they can keep abreast on what you're thinking. And so they can try to run strategy against you. So they can infiltrate you. And they're so psychotic that they can't keep quiet. He could have just sat there in the chat silently. Yes. He could have just remained silent and just observed and surveilled the blacks. But instead, he had to step out and make his unwanted presence known. Yes. That is their nature. I've called out their nature. I predicted them. And that's why, ladies and saints, I am by far the only one that is truly hated by the white organization, because I truly understand them. And unlike the other blacks, I'm actually working against them. Some of the blacks talk about them. Some of the blacks describe them, but none of them are brave enough to work against them. And that is why they get so angry. I get death threats every day, and I think this is so strange. I don't even know how you guys know what I'm saying, except that you clearly follow me religiously. You, like me personally, if I was following a content creator, just an example, let's say I'm following a content creator. Who's a good white content creator? Say I'm following Mr. Beast. If I'm following Mr. Beast and then Mr. Beast has a YouTube video called What the Whites Need to Know, I think, that's interesting. And that's it. I think, that's interesting, but not interesting enough for me to click it because I don't identify as white. And I'm thinking that doesn't have anything to do with me. Like the title of this lecture is basically, hey, come in if you're white. And I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't relate to me. So I'm just going to skip. But the devils, they must come in and observe you and I. And that's why you need the black code. And that's another reason that I didn't make the black code an affordable book. Instead, I made it a course that costs real money so that the casual observers and monitors and surveillors do not try to observe our playbook. You see, I've thought things out, and that's why they hate me, because they know that I am the one that will take down their organization. And they did not build their organization by being careless. And I tell you, it's truly comical. Imagine I'm in the midst of describing anti-black racism, describing how I was singled out. And then a white guy comes out of nowhere and says, well, stop hating on white people. What? Literally describing how white people are hating on black people. And then you say, stop hating on white people in a live stream that you shouldn't even be in. And that, ladies and saints, lets you know everything you need to know. And it only validates what I'm saying and how good I am. Oh, that boy good. That boy good. Shout out to Mr. Sanders supporting the work using the Stripe link. Shout out to Darian and Jose supporting the work using the Stripe link. Anyways, Jalen, thank you for that question. That was a really meaningful question. And I think most white women who deal with black men, for whatever may be driving them, some of them it's perversion, others it's true attraction. Some of them get it. And those who don't get it, they probably won't. Shout out to Elwood. He writes, as the late, great Paul Mooney said, whites have the complexion for the protection and collection. I have read the white book. Us getting free wasn't a chapter. You know, the funny thing is that we're already free. The only question is, will you exercise it? It's really a psychological trick that blacks think they were ever not free. Even under enslavement, you were free. You just never exercised it, you see? If you were on a plantation and the white said, pick that cotton, you could say no. They say, pick that cotton or I'm going to whip you. You could say, well, then whip me. Or you could start to fight them, or you could run away. You were always free. Life will always involve conflict, two forces pushing against each other, or some force trying to engage dominance. So you were always free. The only question is, would you exercise it? So the psychological disposition of thinking that another human can take your freedom is foolishness. And that is precisely why my message is so important. Shout out to, let's see. Via PayPal, shout out to Shondell, writes, peace to the saints, just curious why so many strange reviews on the black box referencing NFTs. This is a very important question, and I'm so glad you asked that, Shondell. So again, the white organization, organized, and these are hateful people. And I always tell you that hate appears to be stronger than love. The whites, they're an organization. They organize. You said, why so many bad reviews mentioning an NFT. Now, frankly, my book, The Black Box, is literally rated at a 5-star, but it's like 4.8. And the reason it's like 4.8 is because the whites have gone on there and rated it a 0-star, even though they've not read the book. And they've done that to suppress me. And this is what the whites have done historically. They even have organized programs for things like this. The Federal Bureau of Investigation had a program called COINTELPRO. The stated goal was to suppress the revolutionary Black Messiah, he who could stir the masses, he who could orate, he who could organize. And that was a stated policy of theirs. You think they ever stopped doing that? No, my friend. No, they didn't. But anyways, in seeing that I'm a threat to them, they try to do everything to hurt me and my movement and to hurt me financially. And so they try to go on and put bad reviews so that the book doesn't sell. And it still sells because it's such a good book. It has so many good reviews that their bad review is a drop in the bucket. I encourage all of you to put a 5-star review on the Black Box to counter the lies. But this is a really important thing. I actually haven't gotten to this part, but I want to acknowledge what Shondell said. And you'll notice every time this stuff comes up, I have a perfect example. Why? Because the exercise of white domination is so common. It's so common. It's easy to bring up examples. For example, this NFT reference is, and this is truly fascinating. I literally address this concept a little later in the lecture, but I'm going to give you a sneak preview right now. One of the things that the white organization does when they're engaging in Caucasity is that they question the legitimate credentials, expertise, and belonging of the original people. Yes? So to infinity, they want you to justify and they want you to prove your intelligence. Case in point, my background is in software. It is publicly documented that I've created software businesses and made them successful and scaled them around the earth. And I did that multiple times before social media. And you can read about that, or you could in news articles and magazines, and you can see it on television. Yes? Now, here's the interesting thing. If my background is in software, then clearly I would know what an NFT is, probably before the public. And in addition to having a background in software as a successful entrepreneur, I actually had a conference in which I taught people what NFTs are, how to mint NFTs and cryptocurrency. I had a conference on that. Then maybe about a year and a half later, there was a trader. There's this pale girl, mulatto looking girl who went on a show of a white supremacist who calls himself Destiny. He's a Skittle guzzler. And he was hosting her such that she could have a platform to throw me under the bus because she did not like what I told her, which was the truth. And so she ran to the white man, the enemy, and she started dragging the black man through the dirt. I responded on my own live stream addressing him, who I had never heard of him before that. And he got so offended. And I tell you, they're always monitoring us. That's why I say I'm your favorite YouTuber's favorite YouTuber. They're always monitoring. So what did he do while I was live? He came on my live stream because he was monitoring. He was surveilling. That's what the whites do. And when he came on, I said, you should not be leading people. He said, well, why am I not qualified to lead, Marquette? I said, I'm glad you asked. Let me show you 2 videos. I show him the first video. He states NFTs are a scam. And I said, you know what? I agree with you wholeheartedly. NFTs are a scam. And I've been saying that for years. Here's another video. Boop. Same person, him. Now he's saying, oh, you can buy my NFT. And every time you buy my NFT, I make a little bit of money. You get to support content creators like me by buying NFTs. And I said, is that you? And then, true to the white organization, deceptive, they gaslight, they lie, they pretend. They're great deceivers. I said, you in the first clip said that NFTs are a scam, and I agree. Then in the second clip, you asked your audience to buy your NFT, so you're trying to scam your own fans. That's why you shouldn't be a leader, because you have no decency and dignity. And we didn't need to see those 2 videos to know it. You abandoned your son and you joined the LGBTQ. That enough lets us know everything we need to know. Needless to say, he was big mad. So then it goes from the question he asked me, which was, why am I not qualified to be a leader? Then he says, well, do you even know what an NFT is? What? We've just talking about NFTs. What do you mean, do I know what an NFT is? But here's the even funnier thing. Not only do I know what an NFT is, I literally taught a course on it. I had a conference with people in my home in Las Vegas and taught a course on it. And my chief engineer, Seth, who worked for a Fortune 1 company and is an aerospace engineer, was there as well. I was like, that's funny you say that. You know, I went to Berkeley and Johns Hopkins. I ran a software company, successful ones. And I also had a conference and taught people how to mint NFTs. And you're asking me if I know what an NFT is? I was like, you're silly. So then he says, well, what's an NFT? I was like, you're a silly person. He's like, what's an NFT? So then he keeps on repeating this. What is this? This is an attempt to distract. This is an attempt to manipulate and to deceive, to remove attention from the fact that he scammed his own fans with an NFT scam. So then what does the white organization do? Because they're organized and they stay on code. They all start repeating it. You don't know what an NFT is. And this is all a part of the white strategy. Yes, it's a part of the white strategy. They try to question the legitimacy, the belonging, the expertise, the merit of black people. Now, let me tell you what the funny part was. And this is very much so how you know the white organization is evil. I went to Berkeley for undergrad. He went to some no-name school. I graduated from Berkeley, a 4-year degree. I did it in 3 years. That's first-rate brains. He dropped out. Not to mention it was a music degree, one of the easiest degrees possible. He dropped out. Then while he was a dropout and a nobody, I then went to Johns Hopkins. I ran a nonprofit full-time. I went to school full-time, and I taught kids in Baltimore full-time. He was still a nobody dropout. Then I founded a tech company and created offices around the globe and lived in South Korea in my mid-20s while having people on payroll from Seoul all the way to Chicago. And he was still a nobody dropout from college. And then he, with all of that underperformance, white inferiority, has the nerve to ask a black man, do you know what an NFT is? I'm the most qualified person that he had ever met. I'm the most qualified person he'd ever met to answer the question of what an NFT is, but I wouldn't answer it for someone like him because he is not qualified to question me. He's a college dropout. He's a deadbeat father. He's a person who has been jobless and never had a career in his life. So I would not participate in the Jedi mind trick of the white organization to try to get you to validate yourself to them as though they are an authority. So I said, I don't answer to you. You can ask me what an NFT is, but I don't answer to you because to me, you're just a white person who is incompetent and you're a dropout. And the only reason you're in position is because of the system of white domination. Because if you were a black person who's that unattractive, that overweight, that inarticulate, stuttering and awkward with no academic pedigree and no professional accomplishment, you wouldn't be here, buddy. You'd be working at Walmart. If you were black, you'd be working at Walmart. And that's the whole point. It is the system that the white organization exercises that allows meritless whites to rise up. Donald Trump is a great example of it. Very little merit. I'm not saying he's dumb. He's not dumb, but he has very little merit. So you compare him to, say, Barack Obama, who I don't like at all. But Barack Obama was editor of the Harvard Law Review. You got to be really smart to do that. You have to be very diligent, capable, and able to climb hierarchies to achieve that. And then you have Donald Trump, who started his illustrious career with a small $1 million loan from his father. And that's not merit. That is the whites having inherent advantage. And that's why they try to maintain the status quo, because he didn't start off like someone like me would have started off. He started off with $1,000,000 loan. There you go. Shout out to the gentleman. He writes, I read The Black Box on my Kindle and I gave it a 5-star review. Great and entertaining read. I appreciate that. And I encourage everyone to do the same. Take action. I want to see that love is stronger than hate. That's what we have to try to prove that thesis. But that's the difference, is that the white organization, because they're driven by hate, which is a strong emotion apparently, they were so effective in organizing. The lady writes, I've never heard you mention the black box being about NFTs. Am I missing something? No, you're not missing a thing. It's the white organization doing what they do. They stay organized and they try their best to neutralize the most effective black people. And those that are like Candace Owens, Officer Talmud Tatum, the Hodge twins, those are the ones that they try to elevate, because those blacks are the ones that keep all the other blacks in line, because they add to the false belief in white ideology. Yes. They keep like the Hodge twins and Candace Owens and the Talmud Tatum. They're like, racism doesn't exist. And that's exactly what the white organization wants to put forward, so that they can keep you crippled in the low position that you're in. Because if they acknowledge that racism doesn't exist, if they acknowledge that it does exist, and they acknowledge who the perpetrator of it is, which the whites, well, that wouldn't be very useful to them to acknowledge that they are the problem. Yes. Because then we'd start really understanding the world. They try to confuse you now. They blame everything on these people. But the truth is, these people, they're white. So once we understand who really is creating havoc on earth, then we can start to, get things together. Anyways, Atticus writes, I see now why you want to do this members only. Some of these folks in the comment section are just, yeah, I know. He writes, peace to the saints. May I also acknowledge Mike came in a strong way. He writes, peace to the saints, impose your will or submit to theirs. 100%. May I also acknowledge Mr. Nyobese writes, peace to the saints. Kumbulani Nyobese, paying tuition for all the wisdom. Keep going. Sir, yes, sir. And I appreciate the support. May I also acknowledge Omar. He writes, good evening, Marquette. I'm sorry for not sending my donation as frequently. Times are hard at the moment. I respect that. And I respect everyone who comes in sincerity. And I know that everyone gives according to their ability. And I just respect people stepping up to be counted and saying, hey, I'm here. So I appreciate you. And I can promise you one thing, that times will get bad again. They'll get good again. But what I teach in Boston University is that the quality of your life is decided based on your mentality. And so I encourage you to endure with joy. And one of the beautiful things about our membership is that, our guys get together at no cost on a regular basis to exercise. That's going to release positive endorphins. And also having that community and feeling that support will make you feel stronger and fortified to deal with the challenges of the world. You still are going to have those good times, and it doesn't cost you a penny. And that's important to remember, that this world is not about money. It's not about the material. It's not about how big is your house. It's about how many good times do you have? How many laughs can you share? Who are the people around you that you can dream with? That's what this world is about. May I acknowledge Dr. AJC3 writes, Hodge twins, thumbs down. I'm trying to tell you, talentless hacks, those ones. Completely talentless, and only can they rise up within the white supremacy system because they validate white supremacy. Shout out to Omar. He further writes, but nevertheless, I appreciate you for the game. As always, love and prayers from my side. Please continue the ruthlessness and be safe, Saint. Sir, yes, sir. And that's a great reminder. I appreciate it. I also acknowledge Mr. Chambliss. He writes, support for the conversation on Nigeria and Tanzania, support for this session as well. I appreciate you, and shout out to the real ones. And I encourage everyone to know that everything that I do is very strategic. So don't ever think that I'm doing anything on accident or thoughtlessly. It is all very strategic, and you might be wise to take some notes on it. Shout out to Ray. He writes, they probably want to rip your guts out and eat them raw. They can't pull the money flex, the ethical and moral flex, physical condition, or intelligence flex on you. like they do with most blacks. Stay dangerous, brave commander. I appreciate you. Oh, absolutely. That's why they hate me. That's why they hate me. Imagine, do you know what it feels like to claim that you are superior and then encounter a man who can beat you senseless with his bare hands and then outthink you and take your girl? Oh, that hurts. Oh, that hurts. Yes. And then they can't pull the usual one of you poor blacks. No, they can't. They can't pull that one. I have a fireplace in my bathroom. There's a chandelier right there. Literally, there's a chandelier. And I can say there's a chandelier right there while I'm standing in my closet or sitting in my tub. So yeah, no, they can't pull that. And that's why I'm the most hated. Yes. Like even like a Dr. Umar Johnson, he's not a threat. He doesn't organize men. Men are the threat. Dr. Umar Johnson is not financially empowered. He raised in excess of $4 million. And what does he have to show for it? Literally nothing. That's bad. Not only did he fail to create the school and get it up and running, he hasn't even accumulated personal wealth from it. At least when you go to Houston and you see the preacher stealing from the congregation, they at least have mansions to show for it. Dr. Umar is homeless, but here's the worst thing. The reason that I don't bash him, even though I disagree with what he's done, and there's an entire channel. There's one fellow that he makes a living bashing Dr. Umar. And frankly, however bad Umar has aired, it is against code to spend your time consistently bashing a black person. And beyond it being against the black code, it is just not productive as a man. It's profitable, but it's not productive, because here's the difference. If you spend all your time on YouTube making oodles of money bashing Dr. Umar, have you built anything? If Dr. Umar were to drop dead, now what are you going to do? Your business is dead because you didn't really have a business. You weren't actually offering value. You're swimming in the mud. And that's why I teach men to offer value, you see. You have to offer value. Gentleman writes, I just hope SaaS in India becomes possible. We must have SaaS in India. And shout out to my Indians for so many reasons. I actually have a really impressive fan base in India. Last time I was in India on accident for Diwali, which of all the times of year to go to India, I hate going for Diwali because they don't have enough regulation. You got little Indian kids running around just popping off firecrackers. It's a beautiful thing, but it's a dangerous thing. And I remember last time I was in India, there was a lot of Indian folks. Oh man, I watch you. You know, it was pretty cool. So yes, we have SaaS in Asia. Technically for now, India falls under SaaS in Asia, which is headquartered in Manila. And shout out to all of the saints over there. Shout out to Harvey. Shout out to all of my guys. Shout out to Kensuke over there. So for now it falls under that, but in due time, SaaS in India should be its own entity. Obviously they have the population and the know-how for it. And that is upon all of you to bring people into this thing of ours. Shout out to Roger. He writes, discovered the extraordinary contributions of FBA Black brothers and sisters. FBA Black excellence is hidden from the world. Oh man, indeed it is. And again, that is a part of the efforts of the white organization, as is every other ethnic group's contribution, like the number 0, Arabic numerals, math from India. Come on, even the Nazi symbol comes from India. Am I wrong? So yes, they're trying to suppress all of it. They would like to claim that they are the knowers of all things. They are the original progenitors of all human knowledge. This is their claim. It's funny, but it's ridiculous as well. Anyways, I want to make sure that I'm resuming where I was. I believe it was here on meritocracy. Before we were so rudely interrupted by that white fellow conducting reconnaissance. The myth of meritocracy. This is one of my favorites because in this day, we see that so few whites are qualified. They're not like their forefathers. We don't have the Benjamin Franklin whites anymore. We have the King of the Hill whites. I'm talking about the cartoon. We have the Homer Simpson whites, not the Benjamin Franklin ones. These whites are benefiting from the accomplishments of their forefathers, but these whites are not very clever. The structural facet of Caucasity relies heavily on institutional dominance. which is frequently obfuscated by the ideology of meritocracy. And this is important. Meritocracy is not an ideology, but it's an ideology of meritocracy. You'll catch up with this stuff eventually. Eduardo Bonilla Silva, a prominent sociologist, defines this as colorblind racism. This is my favorite. And this is the strategy that is parroted, because the whites, they're the brains of the whole outfit, right? When you hear Candace Owens say something, when you hear the Hodge twins say something, when you hear Officer Talmadge Tatum say something, they're not saying that which they think. They're not saying even that which they believe. They're saying that which they have been indoctrinated to know. They're saying that which makes them money, that which allows them to survive and thrive within a white supremacist system wherein they are scared. And I elaborate on the psychology in the Black Code. But anyways, you'll hear the Talmadge Tatum, you'll hear the Candace Owens, you'll hear the Hodge twins, and they'll say, oh, I'm colorblind. Race doesn't matter. And when you use the colorblind concept, you're actually doubling down on racism. Well, Marquette, what does that mean? That doesn't quite sound right. I agree. It doesn't quite sound right till you break it apart. Let me help you. Meritocracy. Let's say we're running a race and we both start at the same starting mark. Ready, set, go. Pshoo! If we're truly equal, then we'll end equal. If one is superior, even if we start at the same place, they'll beat the other person because they're superior. But we're not starting at the same place. Marquette, what do you mean? Well, if you're a foundational Black American and your ancestors, your recent ancestors, went through enslavement or went through Jim Crow or went through the denial of civil rights and education for hundreds of years, then you're starting back here. So if we claim that we're going to put you in a race, Black versus white, we're racing and it's merit we're measuring and we're racing and we both move at the same speed, being that they started ahead, it'll appear that they're ahead, even though in actual fact, we've run the same distance at the same speed, but you're ahead because you started ahead. So when we say that we're colorblind, we're not acknowledging the deficit that this color of people, the Blacks, have specifically because the whites have denied them systematically, consistently, using violence. They denied them education. They denied them proper family structure. They denied them the ability to operate in a safe environment protected by law. So when you say you are colorblind, what you're really saying is, I would like to pretend as though everything's all normal and equal when in actual fact it's not. And then pretending as though everything is not, like race has no factor, I'm actually doubling down and freezing the inequity because I'm not acknowledging it. Come on now. And I'm not providing anyone look at this fella writes. This guy writes, Saint, look into Dane. No, and you're blocked. And you're blocked. Marquette, why are you blocking him? You're blocked. Number one, we always say, don't mention other content creators in our chat. That's number one. Number two, if you have something to say, just like everyone else, you can use your $20 and send it in during a super chat. Number three, we won't have any guerrilla marketing here. Number four, we're talking on a specific topic. Why would you distract us from our topic by saying, hey, while you're talking about that very important thing, let me tell you to go over here. Let me tell you to distract from what you're actually talking about. And that's a person, they're not against code because I don't think that was malicious and I don't even know who they were naming. I don't know and I don't care to know. It wasn't on my to-do list today. And that person's a stranger. Who are you to give me advice? I don't even know you. You don't even have any self-respect as a man. You're not manly to see other men follow the decorum in here and you think you're special. You're not. None of us are bigger than the group. That's the problem. People think they're special. None of us are. So sit down and shut up. Now you might say, Marquette, that's not very nice. No, it's not. And being that individual went 20 years without his father saying that, that's what it sounds like when your father didn't say it for 20 years. Come on now. Yes, indeed. Oh, you should go look at. No, you should sit down and shut up. You don't even have $20 to your name, but you're giving me advice. Don't give me advice. Give yourself some advice and use it. Extraordinary. And that's why I made the Black Code, to teach people how to think. That's why I made Boss University, to teach people how to think. The person who said that, they're probably not dumb, but they don't know how to think. Knowing how to think is an important thing. If you don't know how to think, you have a brain, but you don't know how to use it. It's like having a powerful tool. It's like having a surface to air missile, which could potentially be really powerful, but you don't even know how to use it. You don't know how to mount it. You don't know how to aim it. You don't know how to ignite it. So what's it worth? Having a brain and not knowing how to use it, you might as well be brainless. Anyways, shout out to R. Taylor, writes, peace to the saints. May I also acknowledge Mr. Kumbulani. He writes, in one of your videos, you said that a man is his work. But in another, you said, people are not watching you because of you as an individual. That's right. I'm struggling to reconcile these two ideas. Well, thank you for bringing this up. I'd be happy to clarify. So number one, when I say a man is his work, you guys know me for the work. You don't know me for the being that I am, the fact that I exist. You know me because of what I have done, my works. In fact, I'm right now working on a real estate deal, a big deal, very big deal. A deal so big that the folks who would be selling, they say, well, who are you that you could afford this? You know, so my team had to put together a bio to send over to them because they feel like I need to be somebody just to buy this thing. Having the money is not good enough. You got to be somebody. So they're like, who is he? Can you send over a bio? Now, what is my bio? My bio is what I have done, my activities while here on earth. You know a man by his activities. I wrote a book. It was a bestseller. I have degrees. I have awards. You know someone by their works. I am my work. And when women are attracted to you, it's mostly, in the final analysis, the women who are highest level, you can call them what you want. You can call them hypergamous. You can call them what you want. But they're attracted to you at a level based on what you do. Drake is only Drake because he can rap and sing. Michael Jackson is Michael Jackson because he can do the moonwalk and he can dance better than everybody else. And he can sing and he has extraordinary style. These are actions. These are activities. These are works. If he couldn't do those things, then he ain't Michael no more. So we are known for our works, our deeds, good or ill. And then he writes that I think he believed the contradictory statement is people are not watching you because of you as an individual. That's correct. And these two statements are not at all contradictory. And when I say people are not watching me because I'm me, you're watching me because I'm delivering something, some work to you that you appreciate. You appreciate the work. I happen to be the person delivering it. So at a level, you appreciate me, but you're really here for the work, not me. I'll give you an example. And this saddens me so much. I released a video earlier today that I put in so much work into, ladies and saints. I mean, a lot of work. And I was telling someone in my household, I said, you know what? I spent like 11 hours compiling the script, the audio, the infographic for the video that I published earlier today on how to get a loan for your first rental property. And I thought, man, this should be really helpful to people because everyone knows that real estate can be a place to store wealth. Real estate is an important psychological thing for women. It's critical because it's where we house ourselves and our families. And I'm providing you an additional way to get access to capital so that you can get the home that you want or you can get an investment property. And I know you haven't been taught that in school. And so I thought, I'm giving you some really important financial literacy, and I'm giving you infographics. I'm giving you really good information from someone who knows and who has done it. And that video like probably capped out at like 400 views. And I'm humble enough to appreciate 400 is a lot of people. If 400 people were at my house right now, I'd be like, wow, it's a lot of people in here. 400 is a lot of people, and I appreciate that. But the minimum any of my videos usually do is like 10,000. So the fact that I put so much work into that, and that's the content that allows you and empowers you to be financially free, and just the reality that nobody really cared, damn, that hurt. So, and I put so much work into it. But what that reminds me of is be humble. They're not here for you, Marquette. They're not here for what you think is important. They're not here for what you want to talk about. They're here to hear what they want to hear. They're here to dive into the topics they are interested in, not the ones you're interested in, Marquette. If it was up to me, we'd be talking about meaningful things in entrepreneurship. I'd be trying to get all of you guys rich, because my goal is not to be a millionaire. It's to make millionaires. I'd be trying to make all of you guys filthy rich every damn day. No reaction videos, no news videos. Let's talk about this bread, because I want you guys to enjoy wealth, opulence, and abundance and not have to worry about anything. That's what I want for you guys. But most of you don't want it for yourself. And so using humility, I just accept that I made that video earlier today mostly for me and people like me, people who really want to earn well. And I thought that it would be for you, like meaning like most people, but nah, nobody cared. And that's okay. But it verifies my point that the gentleman referred to, which was that people don't care about me. They don't care about Marquette and what Marquette wants. They care about what they want and what they want from Marquette. I could talk about a lot of things, but people want to hear me debate. They want to hear me talk about geopolitics. They want to hear me talk about women. They don't want to hear me talk about abstract philosophy. They don't want to hear me talk about financial literacy. And that's something I have to accept. It just is what it is. Now, someone said, the video was great. I appreciate you. Appreciate the people who appreciated it, which was very few. But this was the video right here. It reads, get a loan for your first rental property. This one has 800 views. Now, here's the irony. Look at this. This one has 800 views. This one has 56,000 views. Now, here's the kicker. After you finish watching this video, you might laugh. You might be entertained, but you'll never be able to advance yourself in the world. But you know what? For most people, they'd rather take the laugh. After this video, I absolutely, look at this. Look at this. I took out the time to define this stuff at a rudimentary level because I assumed the people watching would have very little knowledge of some of the financial instruments I'm talking about. And so I took out time to teach you things that you should probably already know as an adult. But I want you to know so that you have a chance. The world is difficult, but it's not impossible. And I wanted you to have a chance. And I took out all of my sweet time to create these infographics to explain what this stuff is so that you can go out and make a buck and nobody cares. And this is not to chastise anybody. There's nothing wrong with not caring. It's all good. But when people say, Marquette, like, you're mean. You told that man that he was poor and you told him he should be ashamed and you're mean. You're classist. Yeah, I guess so. But I do everything in my power to help people rise up. So I am a true believer that if you're broke, it's mostly because you want to be broke. I see people in my live chat every now and then. I'm like, hey, you're tired, man. You go to sleep. No, F all that. It's Hustlemania 14. I'm going in. That's why I'm me and you're broke, because you would have went to sleep. Whereas I would have kept hustling. Last night, old lady said, she was like, why are you fighting it? I was like, fighting what? She was like, just go to sleep. I was like, it don't feel right. Sometimes sleep has to steal me away. Yeah, I'm fighting it. I'm trying to go hard. I'm trying to go hard, my boy. Sleep has to force me to go. Yeah. But anyways, point is, people want to be broke. They want to be broke. Let's look at this. Look at the effort. How to get a DSCR loan and prove the viability of an Airbnb rental. Step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wow, Marquette, did you just ABC it for free? You did an ABC guide on how to get an Airbnb rental for free, and people ain't even peep it. Amazing. 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 And that lets you know when people are like, Marquette, why are your courses so expensive? Because people don't respect free. Huh? Why are your courses so expensive? Because they pay for themselves tenfold. You get the course, it pays for itself tenfold. Promise you. Promise you. Promise you. Anyways, let's get back after it. May I acknowledge Mr. Irvin writes, tuition, Caucasity. I appreciate you. May I also acknowledge Daniel. He comes in via PayPal. He writes, peace of the saints. Will definitely catch the replay. Support from Nairobi. Shout out to the saints all across the world. Beautiful thing. I also acknowledge Mr. Chambliss. He writes, between 1820 and 1965, approximately 42 million legal immigrants entered the United States. Almost all of these immigrants came from Europe and almost none from Africa and other places, which exploded their population compared to other groups like blacks. Oh, absolutely. That was Ellis Island, just bringing the whites in by the boatload. And that was a specific policy. In fact, if you really dig into that data, and I have, there were even certain types of whites that they tried to prevent from coming in. Because remember, not everyone was considered white. Initially, being an Italian was a different thing. Being Irish was a different thing. And it became white. Yes. So thank you for that piece of data. Now also acknowledge Life supporting the work. Shout out to 9076 writes, I watched it on X. I appreciate the information. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you. You know, the crazy thing is I got my AC on, but I feel like it's really not blowing hard enough. Pause. Give me 1 sec. Send in your comments, questions. Ties tuition. Look at these people. They have no decency. Look at these people. Just no decency, not manly. And I try to teach in the hope that I don't have to deal with unmanly behavior from the same person in the future. So for example, like this person writes, apologize, Saint, for not having a contribution, but I am new to the channel. I had no idea you live stream on YouTube. What's your take on reparations? Is it a reach for the stars or is it a need? Peace. Well, why don't you just respect the fact that if you don't have a contribution and like the way things are organized here, there's a decorum here, there's norms here. You can literally see on the banner, if you have a question, send in your $20, ask your question. There's 1,000 people watching. So out of 1,000 people watching, why do you feel like you should upset the system? It's a fair system. It's completely fair. If you don't feel your question is important enough to send in $20, that's fine. You don't think it's important. I don't think it's important. But there's 1,000 other people on here. I'm sure they have questions too. We obviously can't answer everyone's question. That's why we use this system to stop people from asking 1,000 irrelevant questions that they don't really care about. It's just that they're immature. And so they blabber without thinking first. So why disrespect everybody else who sent in their contribution because they care about their question? Why think you're more important than them, that they have to pay the price, but you don't? Why? Like, and I actually want an answer. Like, if you wouldn't mind answering that question, I'd be truly thankful. I'm talking to you. This person right here, I'm respectfully talking to you. And I want everyone to know, and I wrote this in my book, The Black Box. I come from poverty. I've been poor. I'm not trying to torture you because you're poor. I'm not trying to insult you because you don't have money. I come from that. I've not had money. There have been times in my life where I didn't have enough money to get my French fries animal style at In-N-Out. There have been times in which I was waiting in line nervous at In-N-Out because I was homeless, literally, not because of stupidity like most of you. My house got destroyed in a Category 5 hurricane back to back. I was living in Puerto Rico and I'd just gotten back to the mainland. I had nothing. I'd lost everything in the hurricane. But anyways, I was counting cash money down to the penny, hoping I could get a double and French fries. And I wanted it animal style because I was in such a depressive state because of everything having been taken from me after hard work. Circumstance took it from me, not stupidity like you. So I know what poverty is. I know what suffering is. I grew up suffering in poverty. And here's the difference. I stay in my lane. If you don't have $20, that means you don't have the opportunity to ask a question. And that's life. What that means is use it for motivation. If you really have a question, hold on to your question. Say, I am going to earn it. As a man, I'm going to earn it. Now, every now and then people will bless you. I bless a lot of people. There's thousands of stories you've never heard of me doing people huge favors. And I do mean huge, bigger than I should do. But as a man, you should say, I'm going to earn it, because being a man is about what you earn. Being a girl, a child, a woman, people take care of you. But be a man. Have some damn morality and some decorum about you. If I had a question and I didn't have my $20, I'd watch and try to learn as much as I possibly could. Or better yet, if I literally didn't have $20, I'd turn off Marquette. I'd turn off the live stream. Why? What am I going to benefit watching a guy in a gold on gold watch with canary diamonds, with a custom shirt with a huge flipped up collar and a crazy mustache? Like, what is watching him talk about the Caucasity going to help me make $1? Caucasity ain't important if you don't have $1. You need to go get your priorities in order. I would turn this bald head SOB off. I don't get what this bald head nigga saying. Let me go get my bread right. Nigga, I'll be the first person to tell you to turn this off. You're not, this is not on your list of to-do items. On your list of to-do items is LinkedIn.com, apply for jobs. Indeed.com, apply for jobs. Go through your cell phone, find all your contacts, see who can help you. Stop sitting here asking stupid questions. Anyways, reparations. You asked about reparations. I talk about reparations at length in the Black Code. In the Black Code, I discuss reparations. Now, we know that you're not a serious person. You're not going to get it. You're not really a part of the black effort. You're a weight, in all likelihood, probably a traitor, low key. Low key, because did you ever respond? I said I wanted an answer. Did he respond? No, he didn't. He's hiding in the comments now. Yeah, I think he's hiding in the comments. His name was official, 9911. Yeah, and now he's hiding in the comments. Again, not a manly thing to do. If you're a man, you present yourself. So there you go. Not surprised at all. And that's why I'm opening the training center, because we have too many girly men. Anyways, shout out to Roger. He writes, I'm Trinidadian. I tell my people and foreigners who look down on FBA that virtually every tech they use daily was invented by our FBA brothers and sisters. The idiots would be living in caves without FBA contribution. I appreciate that. Shout out to the real ones. And shout out to all of the black peoples of the earth. I also acknowledge Sands of Success writes, peace of the saints. This FBA KD and you speak of the Iceman inheritance of the truculence, but a great watch is, Julian the historian explains, the system created against the original man. And another great watch is understanding human FBA. There you go. He has some watches for you all to check out. Some good watches. Yep, that fella never came back. Great. Very good. Very good, very good. And that's the lack of masculinity. When you're not raised with your father around or a meaningful father figure, when men correct you, it feels harsh, like, because you don't have practice in dealing with the way men communicate with you. No BS and rub your back when they're talking to you. So it's kind of scary. And I understand that. I totally understand that. Shout out to Ray, comes in by PayPal. He writes, is it just me, or as time goes on, we see more and more that Tariq was right about the tethers? Not immigrants, but much love to immigrants, but evil, conniving tethers, Candace Owens, Hodge twins, and Officer Drainmen all fall in that category, by the way. That's a really good point. That's a very good point. No, honestly, that, and shout out to Brother Tariq. I should probably do a piece on Brother Tariq, because one thing I know is that the intellectuals of today are, especially the black ones, are not acknowledged. And so I should do a piece on Brother Tariq. If someone would remind me, there are two pieces I want you all to remind me to do. Number one is do not let your parents use you. I hate to even have to go through such a thing. And then number two, I want to do a piece on Tariq, because I think he's made a meaningful contribution. And Lord knows he's probably underappreciated, because people take some of his perspectives to be clownery or like jokes, when in actual fact, though they may seem simplified or colloquial, they speak to deeper things that are very meaningful. And in my case, idiotic people cannot perceive genius. There was a silly black fellow who had came on my live session a while back, and he thought he was smart. He went to a second-rate college, which is fine. And he was saying, you used the ad hominem against this black woman who had a perm, and she was talking about Donald Trump being a white supremacist, but you attacked her personally. That you can't win an argument with a ad hominem attack. And I said, well, I agree. You cannot win an argument with an ad hominem attack. However, I do want you to understand that that is an opinion, that ad hominems have no place in argumentation. I would actually challenge, not attacks, but I would challenge that argumentation. If it's purely academic, if you're at Oxford Union debating, yeah, then you should dispense with the ad hominems, because you're engaging in arid intellectual contention solely for the purpose of outwitting someone. That's the only purpose. But when you're in the real world and you're having people who have power and influence to get things done, you should inspect the speaker. You should be critical of who they are and what they are, because the argument not only comes out of their mouth in their discourse, lowercase d, but it also comes out of in their appearance and the way they live and behave, capital D. You guys can research what I mean when I'm saying lowercase d, capital D in terms of discourses. So what I'm saying is this: if out of your mouth you speak against white supremacy, that's all well and fine. I agree. White supremacy is a real thing. But on your head is a blonde wig. The argument of your wig, your blonde wig as a black woman, is making an argument. And that argument is saying that white humans, white genetic material is superior. So what I was addressing was the full argument, because we're in a real world where your actions and your discourse with a capital D, manner of speaking, manner of dressing, way of being in the world, the culture you exercise is an argument. Why? Because people may follow what you say, but they will also follow what you do. So you cannot speak against white supremacy and then wear white supremacy at the same time. You're lying. And is what I was trying to tell to the black fellow. But frankly, his IQ wasn't there and he could not comprehend it. And the audience, their IQ wasn't there, so they couldn't comprehend it because in their white supremacy indoctrinated minds, they were saying, well, the Europeans and the Greeks taught us about the logical fallacies. And according to Sophocles, if you use an ad hominem or a red herring or a tuco, these are logical fallacies, so you can't argue at that. And I was telling them that you are an inferior intellect. When you're an inferior intellect, you know how to absorb and understand the algorithms or the frameworks that are presented to you. You can follow them. You can read the textbook that's presented to you and you can understand it. But what you are not able to do is the next level up, which is to rewrite the algorithm or to edit the book. You can't edit the textbook. You're not smart enough. Then there's another level above that, which is when you can figure out if the algorithm or the formula is flawed, if there's a more elegant mathematical solution, if the textbook is obsolete, if there needs to be a new textbook, you can write it. There's levels. And I'm telling him my intelligence, as demonstrated, is superior to yours and those who taught you. I'm trying to introduce to you new ideas and you're rejecting the new ideas as wrong. And your definition of wrong is deviation from what the whites taught you. That's your definition of wrong. It's deviation from what the whites told you. And he couldn't understand the idea that I'm not saying an ad hominem is an argument itself. I'm not saying that an ad hominem destructs someone's argument. I agree. It's a logical fallacy. I am saying an ad hominem needn't be an attack, and it's a meaningful and necessary observation when you're engaging in the real world because we have power. And I don't want someone to be able to forward bad ideas. So I'm going to point things out necessarily. Come on now. Are you guys with me? Are you out there? Are you understanding? I need to know, do you understand what I'm saying? You must inspect the speaker. I need to come up with my own set. I don't even know what I'll call it. You got to come up with my own set. Inspect the speaker. Well, why, Marquette? Why do you have to inspect the speaker? Well, maybe if you look at Elon Musk and you realize, okay, he's a white guy from South Africa, one of the most racist societies that have ever existed, and his father is also a rabid racist who's very public about it. You inspect the speaker. Now you can better understand why Elon Musk might say something that is overtly racist, or he might say something that's not overtly racist. But if you study it, you'll figure out where the racism is. But the only reason you would have searched for the racism is because you first inspected the speaker and realized that Elon Musk is basically a white Afrikaner. Marquette, well, what do you mean? Elon Musk is always talking about the white population is not replacing itself. The white population is not replacing itself. Why is that so important? You'll hear him say the following, which is not true. He keeps saying population around the whole world is declining. No, it's not. It's declining in white societies and Asian societies, namely South Korea and Japan. It's not declining in Nigeria. It's not declining in India. It's not declining in Pakistan. It's not declining in Israel. Come on now. So what he really means is not that world population is declining. What he actually means, coded language, is that the white population is declining. And you could only you'll more easily understand that after you have inspected the speaker. So you see, it is not a logical fallacy, but it is in fact an additional and alternative logical route to better understand his discourse. Come on now. Come on now. Are you guys getting it? Are you getting it? Good Lord. I got to open up a church because I need to hear the people. Maybe it's a black thing. I got to hear the people. I need to open up a church. Sands of Success writes, peace to the saints. Sorry for the bad grammar, but I wanted you to do a breakdown and use your scholarship to break down Julian, the historian, understanding humans on FBA history, peace of the saints. Oh, okay. You'll have to send me an email on that one. And it appears maybe a URL as well. So if you just say, hey, it's me, here's the email and the URL. And if you don't hear anything back in 24 hours, definitely get with me. May I also acknowledge Life. He writes, it's called Marquettism. There we go. Inspect the speaker. Indeed. Indeed. And this is a grown man who put a laugh emoji. And generally when we see laugh emojis, we know we're dealing with someone who's probably stupid. It's okay. He writes, FBA should be a thing, but Tariq's rhetoric is quite simply some clownish most times. Y'all need another leader. Well, number one, I can't say that I've listened to Tariq at length. I think that he's done such a good job that most of what I hear about what he thinks is from other people who follow his message. So I know that he's doing a great job at disseminating it. And in as much as that's the case, I have a great respect for it. I've heard his clips and he's very funny and I appreciate that, but also very intelligent. And when you say leader, I don't know that he's necessarily trying to lead a movement. He may be a thought leader. I don't know if he's been attempting to be any other kind of leader, but clearly this person has had his feelings hurt by Tariq and probably is what Tariq would call a tether. And that's why he's making that comment, because I don't think any other sensible black person would find any need at this moment to say that. Just don't see that it's a value add. So again, you can be on code, the black code, you can be against code, and you can be off code. So I would say that's off code. It doesn't seem to be like a malicious attempt to go directly against the code, but it's clearly off code. It's not against, it's off code. And that's why he's blocked. Goodbye. And you might say, Marquette, you have no tolerance. Correct. I have no tolerance because time is precious. We have such little time. There's billions of people on earth. I don't need to play around with people who may be foolish or men who are not serious. I'm not going to take an extra moment to figure out if you're a serious person. If you seem at all to be a fool, you're gone. You're done. I don't need you. Shout out to Mel, and you're probably a detriment. Shout out to Melvin supporting the work, came in via Venmo. I appreciate you. May I also acknowledge Malcolm. He writes, peace of the saints, tuition. Appreciate you. May I also acknowledge via PayPal, Ricardo. He writes, peace of the saints, tuition. He further writes, Marquette, that video on real estate was fascinating, and to know the amount of work you put into it, I truly appreciate it. You are one of them once. The research gathered experience, not to mention your originality, it's nothing to shake a stick at. Thank you. I appreciate that. And honestly, it was my goofiness that I put so much time into that, thinking that it would benefit people when in fact it's a minority of people who want to truly be wealthy. People talk about being a millionaire. They don't want to make the money. They want to spend the money. I actually like making the money as well. But anyways, Boss University. And that's why I tell you guys, you got to review the education on a regular basis. Boss University, you need to review regularly. If I was thinking like a boss, I wouldn't be trying to teach peons how to become a boss. Peons, they want to laugh. You hear me? So it was a waste of my very, very valuable time. So that was my bad. I messed myself up, and it get like that. We're human beings, but I won't be doing it again. God damn it. Shout out to the first baller alert. Shout out to the baller. Shout out to Kyle. He writes, absolutely necessary. Appreciate the actionable knowledge. Peace to the saints. I appreciate you. And shout out to Kyle. Yes, indeed. Okay, let's get back to this work. Let's get back to this work. Got a good workout in today. I hope everyone got in their 30 minutes of sweat. And if you didn't, it's never too late. Just lay down where you are, hit some push-ups, lay down where you are, hit some sit-ups. It's never too late. Anyways, let's get back after it. The myth of meritocracy. Oh, it's my favorite. The structural facet of Caucasity relies heavily on institutional dominance, which is frequently obfuscated by the ideology of meritocracy. Eduardo Bonilla Silva, a prominent sociologist, defines this as colorblind racism, which I already elaborated on, by operating under the pretense that race does not matter. You've heard this from the Hodge twins, Candace Owens, Talmud Tatum. The dominant culture can perpetuate systemic disparities while maintaining a veneer of moral neutrality. And that, my friends, is what you really have to admire about the white organization, is their ability to deceive. Imagine doing something proactively, and mind you, let's use the school link because we're trying to transition all the courses over to school, so I appreciate you. But imagine proactively enforcing a system wherein you keep the non-whites down proactively while still maintaining a veneer of moral neutrality, the idea of I'm not doing anything. It just is what it is. I'm not doing anything. That's impressive. Let's go deeper. The linguistic and behavioral hegemony. Dominance is not maintained solely through physical or legal coercion, and this is really important. It is maintained through epistemological control. This includes tone policing. This reinforces the white habitus as the sole standard of rational communication. And I don't know if I reviewed habitus. I hope that I didn't accidentally skip anything. Yes, I hope I didn't skip anything because I don't think I defined habitus for you. This is a term that comes from a particular scholar. Here we are. There we go. And I really want you guys to remember this. Habitus, a concept formulated by sociologist Pierre Bourdieu, and I did mention this earlier. In fact, habitus refers to the deeply ingrained habits, skills, and dispositions that individuals or the white organization possess due to their life experiences, socialization or indoctrination, psychology, and genetics. Habitus. Now, this is really important. And as I elaborate on it, you're like, oh, yeah, I experienced that. I know what that means. So check this out. Tone policing. This reinforces the white habitus as the sole standard of rational communication. And we can simply say, the way whites do it is the right way, or the way whites do it is the only way. For example, when I was speaking with that intellectually inferior black fellow who believed that he knew something because the whites told him about logical fallacies, darling. And I was trying to explain to him that, little buddy, that's an opinion. I know a white person had the opinion, so you got to take it seriously, but it was an opinion. Yes. I'm not saying the existence of an ad hominem is an opinion. No, that's a fact. But the idea that ad hominems have no place in argumentation is an opinion. And I don't agree with it. And I explained why. And his thing was that you are diverging from the white habitus. The whites taught us that we cannot use ad hominems. The whites taught us that we cannot inspect the speaker. The whites taught us that we have to discuss abstraction and ideas, but I can't discuss you. And I'm saying that's incorrect. I'm saying that if you're talking to a black woman who's wearing a blonde wig and she's verbally arguing against white supremacy while physically reinforcing white supremacy, you must argue against her words and argue against her behavior and her appearance all at once. And it's necessary, which diverges from the white habitus. And it constitutes a new habitus, the black code, Marquettism. And he was having trouble accepting that. And I can tell you all this. Most of you have trouble accepting the idea that a black man can really think. One, you haven't met many of them. Two, you've been taught that it doesn't exist. So you all follow the ideas of all of the others. Yes, that's what he was struggling with. There were even goofy blacks in the comments that thought he was a genius. I was like, Jesus Christ. Here's another one. Credibility discounting. Studies reveal that the testimonies and lived experiences of the original people regarding systemic bias and are systematically undervalued by the white organization, requiring an exhaustive burden of proof not demanded of the dominant group. Simply put, you can say you're experiencing racism and they will say, you're a victim. Oh, your victim card is denied. Yes? So instead of acknowledging what you're saying or even exploring what you're saying or addressing what you're saying, they say, no, you're being a victim. And then ironically, the whites will turn around while being the majority in the country and claim to be victim of the Jews. Come on now, which is funny because the Jews are white. So you got whites saying they're victim of whites. Then the whites will also claim that they're victim of the blacks, and the blacks are only 10% of the population. So they'll tell you that when you complain about real things you experience, that's a victim card. When they complain about it, it must be true. It's crazy. It's madness. It's utter madness. And it's maddening if you don't understand. And that's why I made the black code. I got this handy dandy table here because sometimes it's nice to take a bird's eye view. Spatial policing. Spatial. Talking about physical spaces, locations, spatial policing. Here's the behavioral manifestation and here's the systemic function. Behavioral manifestation is what is exercised by the individual white person. Systemic function is how they keep systems in place, how they operate at large, the white organization. Spatial policing, micro surveillance, that happened earlier today in this live stream when the white guy steps out like, hey, stop complaining about white people. You shouldn't even be here. That's him engaging in micro surveillance. Also, calling authorities for minor infractions. When the white lady walks up to the basketball court in the apartment complex and said, hey, why are you guys here? And they're like, we're just playing basketball. And she calls the police. You're like, damn, you calling the police on niggas for playing basketball? Goddamn. That's the behavioral manifestation of spatial policing. What's the systemic function? To reestablish white ownership over public and private spaces. But isn't it wild, even over public spaces? Like you're not allowed to play basketball at the white park. You thought it was a public park. It's a white park. That's why I'm calling the police. And they're coming. And they're going to actually question you like you did something wrong. And what did you do wrong? Was it playing basketball? No. It was being black. But that's actually not true. That's what they make it seem like. But it's not that you're being black. It's actually that they're being hateful. And that's the part we always forget. It's not you being black. It's them being hateful. And that's the important change in perspective. Mechanism, dismissal. Yeah, you said something completely valid and they dismiss it. Oh yeah, victim card denied. Oh yeah, you're woke. Oh, I got black fatigue. They're trying to dismiss your legitimate claims. These people are gaslighters. They're tone policers. And then they demand excessive empirical proof of bias to a level where it's just not reasonable. You see? If you give them examples, then they don't believe it. If you give them studies, then they ask for more studies because they were never going to acknowledge the truth. They're always planning to dismiss the truth. And the funniest part about it is that they'll all basically collaborate in dismissing the truth. This is why people can say, yeah, that one country over there, they're committing a crime against humanity. And then the whites are like, wait, crime against humanity? They're just defending themselves. And then all the whites get together and collectively agree, no, they're just defending themselves. You're like, wait, didn't they start the war? They're like, no, they didn't start the war. They started the war to prevent the war that they started. You're like, what? But white folks will gaslight the daylights out of you. And they'll all stick to the script. There's white folks right now that are sitting here watching this with other white folks on the big screen, looking at each other like, oh, this guy's lying. Okay. I mean, all right. There's literally a war criminal on the loose, and he's always on TV. He's always traveling, and no one seems to want to arrest him. We have the Epstein files of a bunch of white people who have committed heinous crimes, and no one's even gone to trial. They seem to have gotten Diddy to trial really quickly and put it all on TV. Interesting. Institutional control. Control of the institutions. The legal system. The criminal justice system. Or as I like to call it, the criminal injustice system of the United Snakes of Israel. Gerrymandering. You can look that up if you don't know what it is. Opposition to equity initiatives. That sounds familiar. That sounds like what the Trump administration has been doing. Trying their best to remove black people from positions of power, prevent black people from getting promoted to greater power. That sounds like what they've been doing. Punitive jurisprudence. Absolutely. They've been using the law to enforce greater punishment on black people. That's been happening for a long time. Again, there's a great book I have by one Dr. Reese that you can find on my book list at amazon.com/shop/The Saint and the Sinner, spelled out. And they use their institutional control to preserve resource allocation and political hegemony. If you guys are all locked in prison, you blacks, then you don't get many resources. And in fact, you become a resource, also known as a slave. You become a resource to whom? To the whites and the white institution. Yes. And we maintain political hegemony because when we have all you black males locked in prison, you cannot procreate. You, in fact, engage in sexually deviant behaviors because we're putting you in an unnatural situation and unnatural things occur. So yes, they maintain political hegemony. Absolutely. Yes, indeedy. We're getting into it, ladies and saints. And if you like this kind of education, this is the Black Code in its entirety is this, with maybe a little bit more humor at times. Countering the white organization. Actually, I need to reorder this part. Let's see. Yep, I want to reorder this part. Tried to take a once over, but I wrote this quite a while ago. So sometimes the order is not quite how I want it to be with these things. But I wanted this at the end. And this will be going into the Black Code. So you will have this document here. This is a really important part here, and certain types of caucasity are very subtle. Yes. And it's not always the person who is actually like a full white person. They may be white adjacent. They may want to be white, like Candace Owens. Their caucasity is not just for whites. I hope you're keeping up with that part. Shout out to 9076 writes, Cointel ops keep trying to bait you into disrespecting brother Tariq. I've noticed that. And again, that's against code. They're trying to sow derision between the leaders and the philosophers. And yes, it's been going on for a long time. And even those whom I might not agree with always, like Brother Flacco. There's some black guy keeps DMing me like, hey, you need to call out Flacco. He's a tether. I like Flacco. I like Flacco. I don't know that he said anything terribly insulting. I think he's a funny guy, and when I met him, seemed to have a good heart on him, at a level. And so I find no reason to go out and attack this black gentleman for no major violation. Like, I don't understand why you keep messaging me about this. It's a bit strange. And that's why everyone needs to be on the black code, and they need to abide by it, because it is in deviating from the black code that you're the enemy. You have black skin, but you're the enemy. Shout out to Terence supporting the work. He writes, thank you for the live. I appreciate you, man. So acknowledge Waniwan writes, thank you for all the work you do, sir. You are welcome, and I thank you. I also acknowledge Aaron supporting the work. Shout out to 566 writes, the great Marquette Devon Burton. I just want to say thank you for making me a better man. The game you give is legendary on every level. I thank you, sir. Let's get back after it. Tone policing and the illusion of humility. Ooh, this is important. I don't like that title anymore. So I'm just going to call this one humility. And this one is critical, because this is one of the most evil things that they do to the black people, especially the black man. Remember, we mentioned habitus early, and it's okay about, this guy says, Flacco says a lot of terrible things, Saints. He's stepping on the wrong toes while not being cut from the cloth. Okay, all right. But anyways, I mentioned habitus earlier, and habitus is, let's say, simply a way of being, if you like. And the truth is, and I elaborate on this in the black code, obviously we have different names: black, white, Asian, Arab, Indian, Chinese, Filipino. We have different names. We're different. That's okay. What's not okay is acting as though there's only one way to be, and when you deviate from that, you're doing something wrong. So often, especially in the hells of North America, and black females try to enforce this on us the most. It's crazy how they actually really operate as enslavers at times. And this is not all black females. This is some. They're mostly not here right now. The good ones are here listening. But they actually try to get us to behave like white men, or like white men say they behave. For example, black chick tells me she wants me to be monogamous. I say, that's not what my ancestors did. That's not what the pharaohs did. That's not what the Africans from the bottom to the top of the continent have done historically. So I'm going to live like my ancestors. I'm not going to live like the white man who has some blonde, blue-eyed Jesus, and his interpretation of the New Testament and ignoring the Old Testament says that he needs to have one woman. That he can do that. That's fantastic. But you're not going to have me living like the white man. That's not in our blood. And we know it because you observe the behavior of males consistently. You see that that is not what we want. That is not what we seek. So we're not going to engage the habitus of the white organization as though that is our habitus. That is not our way of being. And we will not engage that as though that is the standard, which doesn't make sense because we came before them. And I elaborate on that in the black code. If you don't have the black code, you can see that you might need that. Shout out to Darren. He writes, it's madness and maddening if you do not understand. That's a bar, Saint. Racism will keep you in mental chains if that's all one focuses on. Being a victim is not an option. Thank you for your wisdom. You are welcome, and I appreciate you. And shout out to the people who really get the wordplay. These are the higher level guys. Everybody else is just flying over their head. It's just speeding by. Gentleman says he sent a super chat. It's not a donation. Donations are for people who don't do anything for you. I donate quite frequently. I support a charity in the hood that I grew up in. It supports women who are single mothers. And it's not because I support single mothers. I think that's a terrible state. But it's a religious organization that supports women who have sons. And so the idea is they get at least some masculine influence in their life. That's a donation, meaning that I don't get anything back from it. And I also support, or stop supporting actually, some folks in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. I also support some other causes that I can't name because then I'll probably be accused of supporting terrorist organizations, and you'll see the feds raid my home. But Those are donations, meaning that I don't expect to get anything back. This is tuition. You're getting good information from someone who's very expert at giving it and has done research, which takes time and effort. And that's of value. I say that because I went to university and most of the professors are not interesting to listen to. They're informed and smart, plenty smart, but they are a bore to listen to. And so it's worth paying for something that's more quality. That's true in life in general. Anyways, humility. The demand that black people remain humble, be humble. And you know, the worst thing is the whites have even gotten other blacks to tell blacks to be humble. And what that really means is don't do too well. And if you do well, don't speak about it because the whites might kill you, right? Like, because they kind of do that historically and presently, they kill us. So at some level, it was an effort to protect you. And at another level, it's the message from the boss man and the overseers helping suppress you. So it's one part protect you, another part suppress you. Say, hey, don't shine too bright. You remember that phrase? There's a knockoff book by Robert Greene where he says, don't outshine the master. Let me rephrase it for you. Don't outshine massa. Don't outshine massa. Be humble. Be humble. Don't outshine massa. That's what that is. Huh? Yes. So be humble, especially when displaying confidence, asserting authority, or correcting or outperforming a white peer. Huh? I'm going to put white person, actually. They may not be a peer. They may be below you, could be above you. So let us not have that assumption. Be humble. And the funny thing is that the bootlicker thinks that if he's humble, he'll get by. The whites won't hurt him. They won't attack him, which is ironically not the case. You're never safe around them, especially when you're an individual. Be humble, they say. And remember, everything I'm telling you in here is such gold, and all the examples come to life. Just recently, I was on a live session with Saleh. We were talking about Nigeria. So 2 black men discussing an African country. And there's nothing wrong with people watching, but for some reason, there was a guy in the comments and he wrote, as a white guy, these 2 dudes have huge egos, talking about 2 successful black men we weren't even talking about ourselves. We were talking about geopolitics. We were talking about Boko Haram. We were talking about how smallhold farmers in Nigeria can't get access to loans and can't afford fertilizer. We're talking about the Dangote refinery. All things that have nothing to do with ourselves, our accomplishments, or ego. And even if we were, so be it. But so strange that he's trying to dim our lights. He's saying, be humble. We weren't even bragging. But that's how intimidated these people are. Number one, so intimidated. And number two, if I was bragging, I have a lot to brag about. So is it bragging if you're telling the truth? And why does it offend you so much? And why, if it was so offensive, why don't you just click off of the stream, go do something else? I have a boxing belt here that I earned from beating the snot out of grown men, full-size grown men. I'm very proud of it. It was given to me and I earned it. If I talk about having a boxing belt here, that's because I earned it through hard work and dedication. But if I were to speak on something that I earned, and remember, they have a false claim that, this is all about meritocracy. America's about meritocracy. We hate DEI. We hate DEI. We want meritocracy. Why, when I speak about my merit, is there a problem? I thought we're in a meritocracy. I earned my belt, my championship belt, through merit. I earned my degrees through merit. I earned my Maybach, my i8, my Rolls Royce through merit. I earned my plantation through merit. Why am I bragging and I'm a bad person if I talk about it? I earned it through merit. But when we talk about our merit, now it's bragging. Now it's bragging and you're cocky. You see? You see? The goalpost always moved. It's always getting moved. If you achieve something with no merit, you're DEI. They shun you. If you achieve something with merit, now you're bragging. They shun you. So what you can be assured of is they're always going to shun you. Why? They hate you, nigga. They hate you. That's why. Yes. It's not because you were bragging. It's not because you're black. It's because they are hateful. Very simple. And when you understand that, then you're like, oh, so there's no need for me to lick their boots, because licking their boots is never going to actually profit me. It's not going to help me. Shout out to Official. He writes, keep being outstanding. Peace of the saints. I appreciate that. And you as well, keep being outstanding. Carrying on. Tone policing shifts the focus of an interaction away from the validity of a black person's statement. Validity, meaning truth. Tone policing. So if I say that I'm an accomplished entrepreneur and they say, oh, why do you always have to talk about yourself? Shifting it away from the fact that I'm actually accomplished and it's demonstrated, they want to talk about how I said it. You sound cocky. Well, it's just the facts, though. I literally have received awards for my works. It's just the facts. But they don't like you to bring those facts up. Tone policing shifts the focus of an interaction away from the validity of a black person's statement or credentials and onto how the statement was delivered. Why? Because they are deceivers. They engage a red herring. They want to focus on that which doesn't make you look good, that which allows them to stifle you. In classrooms and corporate spaces, when a black person speaks with authority, it can destabilize the traditional racial hierarchy. This frequently triggers what Robin DiAngelo conceptualizes as white fragility. And this is a real thing. A state in which even a minimum amount of racial stress becomes intolerable, triggering defensive responses such as anger, fear, or guilt. To alleviate this discomfort, the dominant individual demands humility from the black individual. So what I'm saying is, if they see you shining too hard, they start to feel inferior. And so they have to tell you to turn your lights down because they don't want to feel inferior. Now, that's ironic for the superior people, isn't it? That's ironic. Starting to let you know something. Reframing the black person's confidence as arrogance, aggression, or entitlement. You're just confident, but they're going to say you're arrogant. They're going to say you're cocky. Whites' obsession with the original people causes them to not only study black peoples, but to try to steal and re-engineer black ideas. Black fatigue was actually a term that was created by black people to say that we're tired of these people abusing us and hating on us and trying to degrade us. We're tired of it. We as black people are fatigued. Then they steal it and they say, oh, I got black fatigue, which is a pejorative against black people. The hatred never ends from these folks. And then black people used to say, stay woke, which is to say, stay alert. Keep your third eye open to see the maneuvers of these devils. Stay woke. And then what do the whites do? Then they're like, oh, he's woke. Oh, yeah, he's woke. And they turn it into a pejorative. They turn it into a negative thing. And you got to be like, damn, everything we do, it's like they're watching us. They're stealing it and they're turning it around against us. Wow. Why, oh, why, oh, why? What have we done to them to deserve such treatment? Now, here's the kicker. What have you done to them? Nothing. You've not done anything. It's not you. It's them. And that's the part that probably baffles you. And that's why I created the black code, because now you need a way to operate. You got to be able to operate. And there's also further understanding you need. I can only tell you so much in this one session. That's why I created an extensive guide, which is a living document. We will have to update it continuously. Shout out to Ray. He writes, appreciations for you being you. The idea of you pulling all this time and work to present to us is already, the idea of you putting in all of this time and work to present this to us, I'm already aware of. When you can be somewhere with your feet up, being fed grapes and caviar, running through foreign baddies. I really got to get back to that, honestly. In a different country every week is baffling. Thank you. I appreciate you. I really do appreciate that, because I think that a lot of folks do not know the efforts I go to make sure that I can support you guys. I really do make a great effort, and it's very much so worth it too, because a lot of you guys are phenomenal men and women. Shout out to Larkpour. He writes, tuition because you are the truth. I appreciate you. Shout out to the real ones. Shout out to those who get it. Carter writes, I'm not even going to lie, Saint. I did not catch the word play. Peace to the saints. Keep up the good work, the beautiful work. You know, it be like that sometimes. Shout out to Jasmine. She writes, okay. Thank you. May I also acknowledge PayPal's tripping. Shout to Rustam. May I also acknowledge via PayPal. Shout to Melvin. He writes, tuition saint can't be outdone today by the other Melvin. May I also acknowledge Alan. He writes, the real estate work reignited a belief in self that really felt like unlocking a new gear. Kudos to you. Also just finished getting my 30 minutes of sweat in while listening, feeling right on the feet. Feeling real light on the feet. That's a beautiful thing. Love to hear it. Yes, indeed. May I also acknowledge, shout out to Khalif, comes in a strong way via Venmo. He writes, I've been watching for years, but have been down financially. We've all been there. I finally got it together, paying owed tuition. I also got the black box. Will report back once I finish. You're going to enjoy. You're going to have a great, entertaining, engaging read. There'll be laughs. There'll be emotional variation, but there will always be inspiration. Do let me know what you think. May I also acknowledge Elwood writes, I think observing the speaker can be likened to watching what you eat. We don't just consume food, but also words, ideals, visuals. We should also note where the consumable was sourced. Woo! Bro, get hitting us with the metaphors. A fat PE teacher is a perfect example. Words with no action are just wasted breath. Yeah, and you have to wonder how good is their advice, right? If you're a fat PE teacher or an overweight physician, we got to wonder if you know what you're talking about. Absolutely. Absolutely. Bro said it's like the movie Dark City. What you know about that? What you know about that Dark City, my boy? Carrying on. This one, really important. And this is one of the most insidious methods that the white organization uses. In fact, I'd say that this is one of the things that a Candace Owens kind of personality engages in. Weaponized respectability politics. Now pay attention here. The demand for humility is deeply tied to the politics of respectability. A concept originally coined by historian Evelyn Brooks Higginbotham. While respectability politics was historically used internally by marginalized groups as a survival strategy, and that's true, this is the origin of code switching, right? You know, you might be with the homies, you're speaking in your dialect or your vernacular, and then as soon as you're off break and you done went back to the whites, you're like, yes, sir, no, sir, Mr. Wachowski. And that's fine. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Get your money, man. A belief that mimicking the dominant white middle class behaviors would shield them from racism. Act like them, they won't bother you. act like them, dress like them, talk like them, you can get a job. It is frequently weaponized externally by the dominant culture. Here's an example. That name's ghetto. Well, that used to be what the whites would say, right? The whites would try to insult us by, why do the blacks have these creative names? What they really mean is, these niggas have some audacity to come up with their own names? Nigga, don't you remember I named you 200 years ago, Toby? You're Toby. You're not Kunta Kinte no more. You're Toby. I named you. I own you. Name your kids after me. White names: John, Mark, Luke, Sarah. And when you don't submit to them, they think you're crazy. They talk to you and try to convince you that you're crazy. They want you to volunteer to be a slave. That's why I was getting at that African so foul. I said, hey, buddy, you said your father's from Sierra Leone and your mother's from Cote d'Ivoire. Why is your name Bob? What kind of African is named Bob? You sound like a white guy who works in accounting and has 2 kids. You're not Bob. Your name should be something like African. Why? Because you're an African. Just like my name is Marquette. That's a foundational Black American name. Marquette. You never met anybody named Marquette. I actually grew up with a kid named Marquette. I actually write about it in the Black Box. But since then, I've never met a single person named Marquette. That's a foundational Black American name. But the whites will say, oh, why do the blacks name themselves like Keisha and LaQuisha? And they try to make fun of it. LaQuisha, Bonisha, Kamisha, Tanisha. As long as it's a Shah, the blacks love it. And what they're doing is insulting us, trying to hurt our feelings to get us to comply with white culture, to adopt their habitus, to adopt their politics of respectability. You're not respectable if your name is Tyrone or Pookie. You're only respectable if your name is John or Albert or Kenneth. Then you're a good guy. And then here's the evil part. So it went from the whites insulting us because our names are not like theirs, because our names are like our tribesmen. Then they indoctrinated us. And then you'll have a Candace Owens saying, oh, that name is ghetto. And what she's really saying is, you don't want to obey massa, do you? You want to obey massa. That name is ghetto. So then the uppity blacks think that they can insult other blacks by basically saying, hey, you're a black person that wants to be black. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should want to be white and name yourself a white name. Come on. And the blacks who are self-hating and fearful, self-hating and or fearful, they try to make excuses for bowing down to massa. Well, at least I can get a job. I mean, they'll be able to see that you're black when you show up. You know that, right? If they're racist enough that they won't hire you because you have a black name. Now, here's the sick psychology of the blacks, right? If someone is so racist that they see you have a black name and they won't hire you because of that, and you change your name to Candace, a white name, so you can apply and get a job in a meritocratic process, which is almost never meritocratic, and then you show up and you're black, you don't think you're going to experience any racism in that job? And if you're able to evade racism, which you're not, it's impossible. But if you're able to evade it by adopting the habitus of whites or the respectability politics dictated to you by the white organization, then that means you are forever going to be pretending, lying about who you are. That takes a lot of energy. Now, Candace Owens has went deep into the identity. She done got her a white man, popped out some white babies. She has went deep into the identity. Ain't no coming back. Ain't no coming back. He writes, I'm from Pasadena, California. I was told my Californian accent was white. Shout out to the good people of the coastal West. Yes, indeed. And that's the funny thing. We have a big tribe, and our tribe is so massive that we have different dialects, different slang, different twangs, all that. The funny thing, and I hustled all around the map, and I've hustled a lot in Louisiana. In fact, I bought a house in Louisiana. White man stole from me. Yeah, it's crazy how much the whites steal, but it's never in the FBI statistics, I promise you, because they steal in different ways. But a white man stole from me. I was supposed to buy a mansion in Louisiana in a little town called Ethel. Beautiful, beautiful building, place with a stocked pond. It was quite a nice place. But anyways, bro was finessing, stole some money from me. The, what's it called? The earnest money that you use when you're buying a house. And I started realizing, man, these whites steal too much. I'm not putting down earnest money anymore. So when I bought the plantation, I did it with no earnest money, which is a heck of a trick. So anyways, I say that to say I spent a lot of time in New Orleans, and the folks in New Orleans have a very particular way of speaking, a fairly charming accent. Obviously you can pick up some slang wherever you're at. And the funny thing is that if you have yourself blindfolded and you listen to a black woman and a white woman speak, and they're from the NO, they're from Louisiana, you ain't gonna be able to tell the difference. They sound the same. They sound fundamentally the same. And it's ironic because if you were like a black Californian or a black person from Chicago or elsewhere, let's say, if you heard that white woman, you say she's talking black. Well, in fact, she's not talking black. She's talking like she's from a parish, and she is. And black people have such little understanding of the self and of our huge tribe that we would say, oh, why are you talking like you're from the West Coast or you're from the South or you're from... My tribe is huge. That's all a part of my culture. They're all foundational black Americans. That's all me. That's all me. I speak those dialects. That's all my tribe. Come on now. But nobody ever says anything if you speak English. I mean, so you're telling me I can speak mainstream English? You don't have any criticism? But if I speak like a black person who's a part of my tribe, who's from a different part of the land, that's unacceptable? Huh? Strange. Again, it's an expression of self-hatred. They teach you to hate yourself. They teach you to hate your own names. They teach you to hate your own cultural identity, your own creativity, your own effort to carve out a way of being apart from being white. And there's nothing wrong with being white. If you're white, there's a lot wrong with it if you're not. Shout out to Candace Owens. Shout out to Officer Tatum. Didn't both of them marry white people? Interesting. And I don't think there's anything wrong with Officer Tatum being with a white woman. You can go to the black code and find out. But there's a lot wrong with him doing it because he hates himself. And he's going to raise his kids as white kids. When white individuals suggest that black individuals practice humility, they are enforcing a racial contract that dictates how a marginalized person must behave to be granted basic respect or safety. Listen to me. They're saying, hey, you better pipe down before we kill you. And you might say, Marquette, it's not that extreme. No, actually it is, because they've killed droves of us. Yeah, lots of us. Everything is backed by violence with them. When Karen calls the police on you because you're in the park, that's a threat to kill. She's calling men with guns. These people are killers. Come on now. Yeah, I'm just calling a spade a spade. She's calling men with guns. And we know these people are killers. They're such killers that they have categories to their killing. Sometimes they call it war. That means it doesn't count. They're killers. Shout out to Mr. Thompson, writes, more tuition for the Caucasity stream. I also acknowledge Mr. Sales, writes, hello, Marquette. Thank you for the knowledge. I will keep paying homage and C notes. Peace of the saints. I appreciate you supporting the work. May I also, he came back twice. He writes, by the way, I'm not paying through Google Snakes anymore. I appreciate you. Shout out to the real ones, because Google is controlled by the devils, and Google is so wicked that, and this really pissed me off. When they had demonetized me, they took all of my earnings, which means that the staff that cuts up the videos and does all that stuff, they took the money that I used to pay them. I paid these people anyways. And then they kept charging people for memberships on YouTube, even though they didn't have the membership anymore, because Google had blocked me from posting and demonetized me. I was like, damn, that's crazy. So I worked a whole month and you stole the money. And then I tried to sue in the courts and no lawyer would take the case against Google. Extraordinary. And this is not me. I was like, hey, I'll pay you. Because sometimes people come to attorneys and they say, hey, do this on a contingency, meaning if I win, then you get paid. If I lose, you don't get paid at all. I said, do it on a retainer. I'll pay you up front. I don't care if I win. They're like, no, we're not taking that case. You find Google? Yeah, no, we good. We good. And again, that lets you know that there's extraordinary corruption within the United Snakes of America's criminal injustice system and in their civil courts. Anyways, academic critiques of respectability politics point out two key flaws. Number one, the idea of just behave. It implies that racism, and I just bolded this before this talk because I really want you guys to peep this. It implies that racism and skepticism are caused by the behavior or attitude of Black people. I really want to repeat that for you. It's suggesting that the Black behavior, the Black attitude is a causal mechanism for our suffering. Like if you would just comply, the police wouldn't have beat you up. If you would just comply, they wouldn't have put their knee on your neck till you couldn't breathe. If you would just comply, you wouldn't die. That's not true. That's not true. It's just frankly not true. It implies that racism and skepticism are caused by the behavior or attitude of Black people, as opposed to the fear of whites. And when I say I should say white fear, excuse me. And when I say white fear, I'm not suggesting that whites are scared of individual Blacks. It's deeper than that. I elaborate on it in the Black Code. I'm not going to speak on it publicly. It falsely suggests that if a Black person is simply quiet, deferential, and humble enough, their credentials will finally be accepted. Be a good boy and we'll let you get on in this world. Why won't you comply? Then you wouldn't have gotten shot. Not true. We saw that recently the Asian store owner, and this is no jab at Asians. This is a jab at the white supremacy system. But the Asian store owner chased a Black boy out of the store for no reason, because the Black boy was not stealing. So there's no reason to chase him out. Even if he was stealing, there's no reason. It was a bottle of water. Even if it was more valuable, it's just, that's not what you do. You don't chase people out of the store. But he chased him out, followed him 130 yards, which is a great distance, and then executed him. And he got away with that because the whites appreciate that, apparently. They appreciate it. They're like, hey, we used to do that. We used to do that. You're learning good. They appreciate that. Shout out to Aaron. He writes, beg like a zoo inhabitant, scores for 2021 SAT. Asian, 1239. White, 1112. Hispanic, 967. Black, 934. Very little merit and equity possible. Comes back, writes, China and white middle-class families do better than upper-class Black. You already received reparations, $75 billion through No Child Left Behind. This person is big lying. But let me show you guys something. Watch this. And this is how fearful they are of Black intellect. They'll creep out every now and then. Watch this. Blacks are inferior. Let's test it out, Aaron. I'm inviting you to come on stream and we can have a discussion. Let's discuss and talk through your ideas. Happy to do it. In fact, when I was in graduate school, I wrote a paper about Chinese families. vis-a-vis education and why the Asians are so successful. I've also done a great deal of study into eugenics and genetics and all these theories on IQ. So I'd be more than happy to engage you in this discussion right now on live stream. So you have my invitation. If you would accept it, I will drop the link and you can come on and present your racist ideas. And in fact, I won't be mean to you. I won't contradict you. I just want to hear you out. I just want to hear you out. Everyone, are you guys listening? I just want to hear him out. But he's scared. He's so scared he won't even come on live to be heard out because they don't really believe the things they're saying. So what they do is they cherry pick some facts. And I'm not denying any of it. I'm not surprised if you're suggesting that the educational achievement of Black Americans versus the other two groups you named is unimpressive. I think that's problematic and it should be addressed. I agree. It's probably a bad thing. So why don't you come on? Let's discuss it. Notice they won't come on. But you should also ask yourself, well, what are you doing here anyways? Sounds like Marquette was right when he said, you guys creep around and surveil us. Why do you surveil us? And I'll tell you guys why. I guess I'll answer the question. I'll tell you guys why they surveil us. They surveil us because though they lie and say blacks are so inferior, they have to take every proactive effort to hold us down. Because if they don't take the effort to hold us down, then we'll inevitably rise up. Inevitably. And I'm not saying rise up against them. I'm just saying rise up. I'm just saying rise up because we have merit. And so they proactively hold us down. That's why they're here monitoring right now. Yes? That's why they're here trying to throw in negativity, introduce doubt, introduce the idea of Black inferiority because they know we are superior. So they have to proactively try their best to hold us down. Just imagine I'm having a conversation as a Black man, two Black people, yet you're here. You're here anyways. And then you got the nerve to speak up. And then when I invite you on, you remember that you're inferior and then you're quiet all of a sudden. Seems as though I've been right about everything. Shout out to Starry Eye writes, how important would you say credit is? I know a lot of people that have it and never touch it or use it. And I know a lot of people that crash it out and use it to come up. There is no come up from credit. Those are only foolish people. Credit is a promise to pay. So you're never coming up. You're going to have to pay it back. If you don't pay it back, then you'll be cut out of certain systems, which you'll kind of want to be inside of at some point, generally speaking. May I acknowledge 19? Oh, so in short, credit's important. It's not more important than making money. And generally, I recommend against using credit. But there is a time and place for all things. Shout out to 1979. He writes, good day to you, sir. Fair exchange, no robbery. Agree. I also acknowledge Darian. He writes, they disconnect us to make it easier to infect us, that part. Erase us in a lot of cases, unfortunately. Tribe up, it's Sasson or nothing over here. I'm trying to tell you. Absolutely. Where'd our little friend go? Oh, he tried to drop in his poison and then just sit back and see if he could cause some chaos. Devils, I tell you, devils. I could never sit through a white supremacist lecture where I feel as though I'm listening to people who are hateful or inferior. I can never do that, but that's the difference in nature. Yes, this is the difference in nature. Carrying on. When white individuals suggest that Black individuals practice humility, oh, let's move down here. Aha. Subservience, and I tried to add in some modern examples that people may be familiar with. I know you guys, and myself included, are too young to have seen Deion Sanders play, but when he was coaching in the university system, we see that they were referring to him and treating him a little differently. Subservience as a condition of acceptance. Subservience, which is to say bowing down as a condition of acceptance. Oh, you got to bow down. You got to dim your lights. You got to use a white name. You have to speak like a white person. You have to worship the white man's Jesus. And then you get accepted. Except that you're never actually accepted. That part. You'll notice all of the black conservatives, you ever notice they're all Christian? Why? Because Christianity is white supremacy. You never have a black conservative who's a Muslim or an atheist. You never have that. You never have a black conservative who has a different religion. That should tell you something. Subservience as a condition of acceptance. Legitimate confidence from a white person is praise. It's leadership. They're assertive. Whereas the exact same behavior from a black person is policed as a lack of humility. Best example we can give you is Deion Sanders. You can look it up on your free time. Here we are. We have arrived. The conclusion. Countering the white organization. I know it scares some people. It scares some of you. Yes, the idea of fighting back. The idea of standing up for yourself, it scares some of you. Shout out to Good Sir. Came in via Venmo supporting the work. May I also acknowledge Mr. Sales writes, I will be getting the black code and you will benefit greatly from it. May I acknowledge Alan via PayPal. He writes, Pac was the perfect example of an individual they thought was not behaved, and look what happened to him. That makes perfect sense. And he's not the only example, but there will be and there must be more martyrs. And I discussed this as well in the Black Code. In summation, the colloquialism Caucasity functions as an accessible vernacular label for an incredibly complex, scientifically verified matrix of socio-behavioral phenomena. It encapsulates the intersection of high social dominance orientation, spatial panopticism, and the unexamined habitus of white psychosis. Yes, you can get an elaboration on that in the Black Code. There is yet another expression of caucasity wherein whites, those white adjacent or those victims of white indoctrination, question the credentials of black persons or demand that they unduly exhibit humility or that they are too cocky, flashy, or arrogant. And sometimes this is subtle. The person tries to act like you're talking about yourself too much or you're too proud of yourself. It's very subtle. They're really low-key hating on you. You see, and you'll be able to tell the kind of people you want to be around you because they will always increase you. They will big you up. They will speak well of you. They will encourage you. Me, when I see someone feeling themselves, to me, that's a good thing. You'll hear people say like, oh, he's feeling himself. I think that's a good thing. When I see somebody feeling themselves, it kind of makes me start feeling myself. Pause. When I see someone confident, it makes me more confident. When I see someone happy, it makes me more happy. I see someone laugh, it makes me want to laugh. You ever meet someone, they start laughing, they have an infectious laugh, makes you want to laugh, lifts you up, makes you happier? That's because I'm a good person. If you are a saint, when you see the goodness, the happiness, the positive emotions and warmth, it'll lift you up. If you are not a saint, when you see the positive emotions, the happiness, the confidence, it will make you feel inferior. It'll make you feel jealous. It'll make you feel spiteful. It'll make you tell the person, chill out, calm down, be humble. And it's all hate-based. Come on now, it's hate-based. Whiteness is not merely a skin color, but a political and social ideology that establishes white norms as the universal baseline for competence, intelligence, and authority. With that dumb fella, I was trying to explain to him that inspecting the speaker is just an alternative viewpoint. It's not wrong, it's an alternative. Just because the whites told you that they get to define what intelligence is or what the standards in argumentation are, it's not true. It's an opinion. Just because they said it doesn't mean it's a fact. or true or non-optional. Scholars Zeus Leonardo and Michelanos Zimblias discuss how dominant groups utilize intellectual deflections to protect racial hierarchies. Questioning a black person's credentials, asking for proof of their expertise, infinitum, functions as a diversionary tactic and an appeal to white authority. Yes, indeed. I was supposed to have a conversation with one of the members of Frojax, right? And I'd reached out to him because I saw a video that he made on Instagram, and I wanted to interview him because I'm the leader of the white supremacy movement. So I wanted to interview him and get a sense of where his ideas came from. And so I reached out to one of them. And again, these people always feel inferior. So he said, "Oh, can my brother come?" I was like, "Well, I don't know that we need an additional person. I just want to interview you. I saw a video of you. I just want to interview you." He said, "Oh, my brother has to come." He really wanted his brother for support because he knows that he's intellectually outmatched. Then we get into the conversation, and I was like, these are two dumb white guys. And throughout the conversation, they said things consistently that show that they were inexperienced, provincial, ignorant, and uneducated, which in fact they were. And they were even talking about China. And I said, "Have you formally studied China?" "No." "Have you been to China?" "No." "Well, then why are you so knowledgeable on China?" Just because you see an Instagram reel doesn't mean that you understand something. And he says, "Well, what do you know about China?" I was like, "Well, I've been there 14 times. I formally studied China in university. I've also done business there. I've been a guest of the government there. I've also taken holiday there. So I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I'm saying I know a tremendous more than you. So you should probably shut up and try to learn something." And the difference is that the whites are all DEI hires because in the white supremacy structure, being white is a part of the qualification for advancement. So they already have a leg up. So they're all DEIs. And ironically, though they say they hate DEI, when I say to them, I was like, "Hey, little buddy, you realize that within the white supremacy structure, I've achieved a lot more than you. I've more education than you, more accomplishments than you, more money than you. So where are you superior at?" And then they try to laugh it off and gaslight and then cut up the clips to make them seem like they're not idiots. And the crazy thing is I've seen the clips that they post and I'm like, you guys look like idiots in these clips on your own social media. And they know that they lost the debate because I reached out to them. I said, "Hey, let's run the debate back," because I enjoyed it and it was easy. I did a 2-on-1. It was a 2-on-1. That's how much these guys are nothing. I said, "Let's run it back." Bro's over here like, "Oh, no, we're busy. We can't do that." Now, mind you, these were small content creators, small. He was so happy when I agreed the first time. I was like, "Let's run it back." "Oh, no, we can't. Man, we'll get back with you." That's fear. And that's what I do to these folks. I am the boogeyman to them. That's why they try to marginalize me, because I'm not a broken black man like Officer Talmud Tatum. I am a black man, unlike Candace Owens. It's not the women that are going to lead the fight. I'm not a shucker and jiver like the Hodge twins. Not a play nice guy. They're scared. And they do everything they can to try to limit me and undermine me. And I appreciate those of you who support me because it is in our unity that we can exercise the organization to stop evil. And that's what we're dealing with. Evil, pure, unadulterated evil. May I acknowledge Melvin? He writes, "Message in your email inspired by your lecture." Okay, we'll take a look at it. Melvin. Okay, this is a bit of a long one, Melvin. Did you send? Oh, you said 2 of them? Let's see what you got here. He writes, "Tuition. They try to make you turn on your brothers, sisters. Relationships are the pillar that holds your life. So you are weak, depressed, and unorganized. So you are weak, depressed, and unorganized. For you're never safe from them when you are alone. For the weak gathering in confederacy to take down the strong. Absolutely. They don't hate you. They hate their weakness and will attack your circumstances. They try to make you feel small because their reality doesn't shine like yours. They can't give you love because they are hateful and they seek to recreate that in you. Inspired by MDB, he doesn't just think, he creates thinkers. I appreciate you. That was a beautiful message, very well written and well conveyed. Thank you for sharing that. Shout out to Mr. Chambliss. He writes, if the blacks are not smart, why would they put so much violence into preventing blacks from getting education, employment, music, and their own businesses? Right? If the blacks are not smart, just leave them to their own devices. They won't make any progress, right? But you guys never do that. Shout out to Mr. Chambliss. He writes, Peter Thiel, a Skittle guzzler from South Africa and Southwest Africa, is spending billions to promote clavicular and many other schemes. I will send a documentary shortly. Very interesting. That is interesting. A lot of crazy things going on. Lots of crazy things. Make sure I didn't miss any. Okay, I think I'm caught up there. The inclination to monitor, control, and dominate the original people is not merely a collection of isolated, aberrant psychological impulses. Rather, it is the predictable, systemic output of a sociocultural infrastructure designed to preserve white dominance. Demanding humility and questioning the legitimacy of black scholars or professionals are tools used to submit strong blacks so white domination remains unchallenged. And this is what happens a lot to the brother Tariq. Tariq is a black scholar, and there's every effort to undermine him. And not only do the whites do it directly, they also do it indirectly through the tethers. It's a fact. Recognizing these patterns through rigorous sociological and psychological taxonomy allows for a more precise deconstruction of the power dynamics that continue to govern contemporary interpersonal and institutional relations. Now you have understanding. After all of this we've reviewed, next is action, and that's why I created the Black Code for that very end. So that's differentiates me from a lot of people in the space, And you heard people earlier in the chat, they're like, go watch this video, watch this documentary, read this book. Nah, I think we know enough. I think we know enough. What are we about to do? You know, if it was up to the people in the space, whether it's the fans or the content creators, out of their fear, they want to run in the loop of endless knowledge. Read this, watch this, study this. But what are we going to do? You know, reading doesn't change the world. Honestly, it doesn't. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is latent power. Power comes through action. Power comes through the barrel of a gun. Power comes when you hold the sword. Power comes through procreation. Power comes through organization. Power does not come through reading a damn book or watching a documentary. I promise you. That's why I create the Black Code. It is a guide to action. So know that when you hear these folks who are constantly saying, study this, do the knowledge, do the mathematics, let's build. Those are people who are actually scared, and in their fear of white domination, they have reached arrested development. They're intellectually paused. They refuse to continue on to the logical conclusion of what the knowledge tells them. Come on now. And that's why I am feared by both the enemy and by the victims who are black. Ladies and saints, it's been an absolute pleasure to have this time to fellowship with you all. Let us end this with our tradition, the creed of the assassin. Repeat after me with full conviction, knowing this is true of you. The creed of the assassin. I am going to be who I truly am because I'm remarkable. And I'm going to strive every moment to show the greatest part of who I am. Until next time, peace to the saints.